Makes the text bigger. Makes the text bigger. There we go. Alright, so everyone strap in. We're starting chapter 3 of Choice of Magics today. Which, if you haven't seen this game before, this is a text-based adventure game where you essentially play as someone who's trying to learn magic in a world without it, where magic has kind of been outcasted and neglected, and you're actively trying to learn it to try to bring it back to the town. We rejected 2 people already in 2 chapters. So, not their problem. Not my problem. Their problem. I'm still gonna be reading chat, so I don't think like you can't chat just because I'll be playing this and I'll be reading it. But in case you do just kind of want to like unwind, and just listen, that's perfectly fine too. But let's start chapter 3. Chapter 3. Visitors. There's a firm rapping on your front doors late in the afternoon one day. Respondis porta. Shut up, chat. No, you don't have to shut up, chat. That's fine. Your golem inquires in a low voice from beside the door, reaching for it. Now, let me see who it is first. You go to the peephole to see who it is, and glimpse 2 inquisitors along with a pair of church guards in plate mail behind them. Oh dear. One inquisitor, clean-shaven, wears a tabard with the sun emblazoned on it, indicating an affliction with the House of Sun, the more merciful branch of the church. Thank goodness. But the other, red-beard inquisitor, wears a tabard emblazoned with a flame. The House of Flame is zealous about purging the unfaithful. Which house sermons have you typically attended at the end of every week? My bad, shut the fuck up. No. You guys can still chat. I'll still be reading it. Just because we're reading doesn't mean we lose the conversational aspect of this stream. The House of Sun, I strive to be better and help the weak. The House of Flame, I strive to condemn and destroy evil. I stopped going to church when I was old enough to resist my parents. Well. Your parents were devout attendees of the service of the House of Sun and brought you every week to confess your sins as they confessed theirs, but you began to pick apart the logical inconsistencies of the church. How did a mortal Abraxas become divine? How do you reconcile the different requirements for immortal life given by the House of Flame and House of Sun? If Abraxas is all-seeing, what is the point of prayer? How can it be fair to demand the death of wizards when Abraxas used to be one? Your parents had no answers for you. Honestly, they were never sure the god Abraxas even existed. Thought pushes you apart from the people around you and makes you more skeptical of everything they say. Your doors are thin, so you hear the Inquisitors when you press your ear to the cold wood. This child is trying to choke on their birthday cake. Are they just like shoveling it into their mouth as fast as humanly possible? Jacob, what do you suppose is so special about this mage? Says the clean-shaven Inquisitor, the one from the House of Sun. Could be more dangerous than usual, replies the red-beard House of Flame Inquisitor. Bless Jacob, you suppose he must be called. So stay sharp, Bleeding Heart Sam. Do you really think so? Bless Sam says, ignoring the barb. Subdue only if necessary. Doesn't sound to me like the Hierophant is afraid. It almost sounds like as if we should be nice. That's what you always think, Sam. Hey. Bless Jacob raps on your door again, startling you. Oh there, bless folk, cries an old man in an orange vest who darters into the view of your peephole. Looking for Apothecary Ori. They left for Bonton, I'm afraid. Not sure when they'll be back. Maybe never. Bless Jacob frowns in irritation. How sure are you, old man? Ah, well, that's what they said when I asked, anyway. I suppose, technically speaking, they could be anywhere. You're quite certain you've never seen this old man before in your life. Bless Jacob takes a threatening stance towards the old man. If you're lying... Why would I be? The old man says, throwing his hands in the air helplessly. Bless Sam observes this exchange with lips pursed in consideration. They want the piece whole, so they're picking the whole thing up with their fork and taking bites out of it, except it breaks apart, so they're just pissed and take big angry bites as a result, and the big bites are way too big. So they're essentially choking out of spite for their own cake. That's kind of funny, but that's also concerning. I come out of the inventory on myself. Use divination to find out why this old man is lying for me. Wait quietly and continue to watch. Let's use divination. You place your thumb and your forefinger on your temples. My children are very smart, except when it comes to food. And toes, apparently. And they are dumb. They're big stupid. You place your thumb and forefinger on your temples. Mysterium gnomai. Revelabit sen exeterus. Identitat. You receive a vision of Mayor Kaz a moment before, walking down the street and seeing the Inquisitors at your door. In a panic, you ducked into an alley and shapeshifted into this old man form. You're somewhat shocked to learn that Mayor Kaz is a shapeshifter. He probably wouldn't be mayor for long if this fact were widely known. After a moment, you're also somewhat surprised that he would risk his reputation for you like this. They are big stupid and big stubborn, with no regard for their own mortality. I wonder where they get that from, huh? In fact, he might be risking rather more by letting Inquisitors know he's a shapeshifter. By old laws dating back to the conflicts with the neighbors, Inquisitors can detain shapeshifters indefinitely. Okay, that wasn't even... okay. Hey, I'm allowed to say you haven't... I'm interrupting you. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. I'm allowed to... okay, well... I'm allowed... okay, continue. I'm allowed to say you don't have regards for your own mortality, because I too don't have regards for my mortality. Coming back to the present, you see that Kaz is looking right at you through the door. Your divination must have alerted him to your presence. You wonder whether the divination magic told him that you know his secret now. I regard it unfortunate for you. I deem it useless. Oh, okay. Well, fair enough then. You're not wrong. But it's still regarded. You know what? You're onto something. Why are you looking at that door? Bless Jacob demands. Reason? Disguised Kaz says, tearing away his attention away and flashing his most charismatic grin at Jacob. Jacob seems unconvinced. Wait quietly. You hold still and continue to watch the exchange through your peephole. Jacob, we're not in a hurry, Sam says. Let's spend a day confirming this man's story, shall we? We can deliver some guest sermons tomorrow, ask more questions, maybe even find out about why we were sent, since the Hierophant himself was hardly any help. Jacob pounds at the door, suddenly startling you. He tries to look through the peephole, though you move aside before he can see you. Could probably knock this door down, search the place anyway. Sam crosses his arms. Well, that's not going to get Apothecary Ori to come along willingly, is it? Let's just take this slow, alright? Jacob lets out air through his nose, then he points a thick finger at the disguised Kaz. If you did lead us astray, so help me, I will find you and have you tried for false witness against the church. Well, be as that may, enjoy your stay in Accrington, Kaz says with forced good humor. The Inquisitors leave in one direction, and the old man leaves in the other. You back away from the peephole. Just as you're wondering what to do with yourself, there's a light knock on your door. Looking through the peephole, you see it's Kaz, as himself. You let him in and shut the door behind him. Oh, what have I done? He groans, sitting down in one of your antique chairs and cradling his hand in his head. It was so stupid of me. I never tried to fool people with my shapeshifting. I just tried to make myself a little more, likable. I just panicked when I saw those Inquisitors at your door, I suppose. It was a reasonably good performance, you say. Kaz looks hardened for a moment. Somewhat marred by the orange vest, you admit. Kaz sinks his head into his hands again. Mayor Kaz straightens. At least you're here, he says. And maybe if we stole enough, they'll just go away. Why are you putting your career on the line for me, you say. Kaz spreads his hands. Because you can do the impossible for this town. Believe me, if you weren't my secret town wizard, you'd be on those Inquisitors' wagon by now. A part of you wonders what exactly would be at the end of the road. The Inquisitors didn't seem hostile, exactly. At least the House of Sun didn't. Kaz takes his leave, and you spend the rest of the evening going through your books to learn more about Inquisitors. In all your readings, the mages and shapeshifters that the Inquisitors delivered to the cathedral are never heard from again. but nobody seems completely certain whether the captives die or are held indefinitely or what. You keep half expecting a pounding at the door, but you have no more visitors that night. The next day is Sermon Day, the day of the week when most people in Ackerton attend a sermon in the morning for either the House of Flame or the House of Sun. You recall Blessed Sam mentioning that the Inquisitors would perform guest sermons. Perhaps attending would be a chance to learn more about their mindsets so you can get on their good sides later. All you would need is a vibromancy that could disguise your appearance. Of course, being a magician among religious people may have its dangers even if you're in disguise. Attend Sam's sermon of mercy in the House of Sun. Attend Jacob's sermon of condemnation in the House of Flame. Skip town and hide out in nearby Triton. I can't be bothered. I'll stay home and study magic. I kind of want to just skip town. Hoping the Inquisitors are still busy with their sermons, you hitch a ride with a caravan heading for the nearby town of Triton, disguising your appearance with vibromancy to make your escape complete. You brought your tomes of magic to study, partly so that you wouldn't leave them behind as evidence. Your escape goes off without a hitch. For a week, you live out in a dingy, rented room in Triton. You spend your time practicing your divination so that you know if the Inquisitors come after you. You try scrying everything but the Inquisitors themselves, hoping for oblique information that will tell you whether they're coming without casting anything direct enough to alert them of your presence. You end up scrying Tal repeatedly, figuring that she would do something if you were in danger, which means she might know exactly where you are. While you're in Triton, you could take advantage of the fact that it's another border town with access to unusual goods. The magic item seller in town is just one spectacled middle-aged woman working a faded red tent in the market square. It's not quite the selection of Ackerton, nor are the prices quite as good, but they have some unusual items, and you could also find buyers for things you couldn't sell in Ackerton. I do not want to sell anything. I do have 490 gold. Could purchase a ring. I kind of want to purchase some bracers that camouflage the wearer for 250. You purchase some bracers that, when lashed onto your forearms, cause your whole body to blend into your surroundings. You can't quite tell what they're made of because they always look like material they're near, hardened leather maybe. You think they may prove useful in getting away from the Inquisitors. You examine the magical item seller's other goods for sale, and then I'll get this anti-scrying ring. You purchase a rather ugly little iron ring engraved with a crossed-out eye. If the church is after you, it probably couldn't hurt to protect yourself from the Hierophant scrying. You've heard ancient celebrities would purchase these rings to protect themselves from nosy fans. You examine the magic item seller's other goods for the sale. I'm done with the market. It could have been worse, you think. Triton might not have had a market at all, but it did make you miss Ackerton a little. You leave the market not expecting to visit the magic item seller again. When Tal rides hard to get to you, you let her find you. In the common room of the inn, Tal greets you with an empathetic hug. Tal, what's wrong? They took Marikaz, she says. They realized he was a shapeshifter. Oh no. You suppose Kaz wasn't as discreet if he could have been. You've got to help me get him back. You figure you owe it to the man who made you the town wizard, even if it wasn't a public title. Alright, let me get packed. Chapter 4. Under the Cathedral. Despite the grim reason for your journey north, you enjoy the time you spend with Tal. What kind of time do you want to spend with Tal? Let's just goof around, let's slay something, try to have a romantic evening with Tal. Actually, Tal and I mostly just like to read together. We like to read together. Tal did keep one book from the underground library, relating his adventures of a kick-ass female warrior with a weird little flying cat friend. According to her synopsis, you, in turn, dig a little deeper into your book of automation, since it's one of the more complex and theoretical schools of magic. The time you and Tal spend quietly reading together is quite pleasant, and you're happy that you and Tal don't feel as if you have to entertain each other. Finally, a few days into the journey, as you and she are watching the sunset from your rented wagon, Tal says, Ori, I like you a lot, so I think it's time I told you my big secret. She sighs. I'm a shapeshifter. Okay, you say, because you figured this out a long time ago. Tal gives you an incredulous look. By Abraxas, you knew? Sorry, you say. I didn't want it to come between us. Of course you knew, Tall mutters, adjusting her eye patch. In irritation, she flips it away to reveal a perfectly good eye. Well, I'm sure you have questions. Ask away. You suspect there are some questions you shouldn't ask, but not sure which. So then why do you need to wear an eye patch? If you can look like anything, why do you choose to look the way you do? Have you ever pretended to be someone else? What's the best thing about being a shapeshifter? Does cause no? Can you change your biological sex? Kid, I see you shift into someone just to see what it's like. I thank Tao for sharing her secret and tell mine. I think it's probably time to share that secret. I think it's time. What's the last 4 numbers of your social security number? Can I have your mother's maiden name? That too. Can you give us that information? You thank Tal for sharing your secret with me, and tell her your own secret, that you gave away her father's identity as a shapeshifter when you were young. Tal sighs. Of course I knew about that, she says. I know who squealed on my father, and I did hate you for it for a while when I was young. But I guess I needed you still, and in time I realized you were just a dumb kid when it happened, so no hard feelings. And I need the billing zip code and code on the back of the card. That too, I do need that as well. Tal gives you a hug and assures you that your transgressions are forgiven. How's our Tal relationship? Great. After a week's journey, crossing the river Nemos and making your way through the Crown Mountains via Cat's Pass, you see the ancient spires of Edra, capital of the Kingdom of Irina. You've always thought of Aquitaine itself old, but it is another thing entirely to see tall stone monuments that have weathered 2,000 years. The towers you can see from a distance reflect a variety of changing architectural taste over the centuries, from minarets wrapped with a spiral staircase to bulbous onion domes. These old structures are often patched with several shades of newer clay and plaster. 3 towers of the cathedral stand taller than the rest, one containing an ever-burning flame that symbolizes the House of Flame, another containing a mirrored orb that symbolizes the House of Sun, and a 3rd bell tower that rises above either of these, adorned with a golden eye of Abraxas. Even the weathered grey domes of the Queen's Palace stand somewhat shorter than any of these. Well, we won't have any trouble finding the place, Tal murmurs, looking at the 3 towers of the cathedral. A steady river of people and wagons moves in and out of the city's south gate under the watch of guards and plate mail stationed atop a huge iron portcullis. You and Tal pass through the gate without incident. Would you like to do any more shopping in the capital before heading to the cathedral? Since the laws against magic are more strictly enforced here, you're unlikely to find anything magical, but the selection of other items should be good. There's an interesting pet store here, but you think it would be impractical to acquire a new pet just before going on a stealthy mission. I don't think so. Let's not waste any time. Let's just go to the cathedral. The idea of shopping while Mayor Cos is a prisoner seems distasteful for you. For all you know, his execution could be taking place right now. You hurry to the cathedral. Cathedral is a huge stone building that has been ravaged by the elements for 2,000 years. Some of the old stone statues of saints in their niches have been scoured to mere lumps. The stone people forming the flying buttresses have had their faces entirely worn down to smooth surfaces. Above it all are, on the left, the ever-burning flame in the tower of the House of Flame. On the right, the reflective orb in the tower of the House of Sun. Looming over both, the Tower of Abraxas, tipped with a wrought iron Eye of Abraxas. These towers are taller than any other building in the capital, including the royal palace itself. Your crude iron ring with the engravings of the crossed-out eye begins to glow warmly. Someone is perpetually watching the cathedral's environs with divination magic. On the trip up, you had casted divination to learn the best way into the cathedral's basement, and you saw a path around the right side of the cathedral, near the Tower of the House of Sun, that went inside through a kitchen and down some stairs. But now there were guards and suspended rope blocking the access to the nearby alley. You suspect someone may have sensed your divination. Crisis averted, there's no COVID. Then what was it? What could have been that important? Did Simon do something silly again? So I can either animate Noodles to get him to distract the guards, cast a Glamour, convince those guards to let us pass, convince those guards to let us pass with a bribe of 100 gold, convince the guards to let us pass with my natural charm, sneak right past the guards. find another way in on the House of Flame side. How is my... I mean, my subtleties are really good, so I gotta take care of the boy. Fair enough. Let's just sneak past. I got some real good subtlety. You have no trouble sneaking past the guards while their backs are turned. You and Tom proceed quickly and quietly down the alley through the side door of the cathedral. The door is unlocked and you enter a kitchen area, which is still abandoned, as your divination had suggested. Behind what looks like a plain closet door, you find some stairs leading down, again, matching your vision. The stairs lead down. You're welcome to some stomach flu here if you'd like. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow. We'll lock tongues. I'm fine with that. The stairs lead down to a network of ancient stone corridors, better described as a dungeon than church basement. The stone here may well be in order than the stone in any magic academy you explored. Certainly, it's not as well preserved, but it also smells dank and is full of adical puddles that have crept in from no discernible place. Gross, awful was the Conway. Aww. 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 Well, we'll see you guys later. I guess we'll end stream there. The time not wanted. Your anti-divination ring begins to glow even more warmly here. Physically, it's a pleasant sensation. The ring seems to convert the divination energy into a warm energy that renews your body. But you're now quite certain someone is trying to watch you. At least you think they're failing. The purple fungus in this ancient passage has no doubt been absorbing minute amounts of negative energy from the dark sun over the years, building a resistance to its toxic nature all the while. With a scraper from your alchemy kit, you gather some of the fungus and make a potion that can increase your control and resistance to negative energy. I'm pretty sure you don't know where that slime has been. Tal warns you as you down the last of the potion. On finishing, you feel less afraid of the dark sun and more able to control its powers. Oh, hell yeah. I assume you're just using my model to reflect Conway. You set off in the direction of your divination foretold that would lead to Mayor Kaz. It's rather dark down here. You sense that you're in a part of the cathedral that doesn't see much use. Nah, I guess you could have to. Hell yeah. Please, you know that's what you wanted all along. You also hope the quiet means you haven't caught the attention of anyone important just yet. You reach a block of cells and look through the eye-shaped barred spaces at the top of each door until you find Kaz. He's wearing a dirty orange vest and breeches and is currently asleep. His signature utility belt is gone. How do you want to get in? I mean, my automation's pretty good. You experiment with a lockpicking spell and find some satisfaction in crafting a spell that can turn the cylinder and hold all the pins in place at the same time. The lock clicks open. Pushing the door open, you see Mayor Kaz has awoken from the sound. Mayor Kaz looks wary of you despite his rescue. And what are you going to do with me? He says. What do you want? Well, yes, but I'm not going to pass him an opportunity to lock. That's fine. She needs the interaction. She prefers it. She prefers it that way. We're here to rescue you, dummy, Tal says. Ah, Mayor Kaz says. Good. I just wasn't sure if it was some kind of scheme. Well, now we found you. We're going to get you out of here, Tal says. She looks to you. Unless you wanted to explore down here more. The ancient stuff does kind of seem to be your thing. You can think of a few good reasons to stay down here. Look for imprisoned mages or explore the ancient rooms in this dungeon that are rumored to contain the cathedral's secrets. Perhaps Tal could escort Kaz to safety. For that matter, as a shapeshifter, Mayor Kaz may be able to sneak out alone. You think Tal and Kaz would go along with my plan, though Kaz would probably prefer to leave now. I need to get paid. I'm out of Ren sus emote usage. You're out of you don't have a sub to Bobby, is what you're saying? No. Oh. That's disappointing. Yeah. That's just didn't say that. Then how are you not able to use it? How are you out of using it? That doesn't even make sense. That doesn't even make any sense. JK. Okay, well. Well. Talking to skate cost of safety. I'll explore alone. I have a prime. Oh, hell yeah. I totally wasn't attempting to gift you a sub anyway. Well, you can take care of Mayor Koss, you say. I'll take him back to Ackerton. I'll be along, but I want to see who or what is down here first. I know, that's why I scut off. That's so mean. That's so mean. Tal and Koss exchange a look. Well, I always wanted to get to know you better, Tal, Mayor Koss says with what seems like forced enthusiasm. You do seem like you have a complex side I know nothing about, Tal says. Really, nothing. Would you two stop it? I say. I know you're both shapeshifters, so just go ahead and change form and get out of here. You keep your muns. Nah. It's not worth it. They do as you suggest, with Mayor Koss adopting the form of a passable, brutish handyman and Tal changing her features slightly to look taller and more imperious. They don't change their overall mass much, but it's so startling to see your friends become strangers. What seems to be the trouble, ma'am? Koss says in a drawl impressively different from his normal voice. Artie shifted Tal's sniffs. Just the rats, the mildew, the crumbling foundation, and some sticks lodged up my colleagues' butts, Tal says. Koss snorts obligingly. You know, it's rather nice having you in on the secret, Apothecary Ori, Mayor Koss says. Well then, you two be careful out there, you say as the two make their way out. You too. He leaves the cell and continue in the other direction from Tal and Koss. You continue down the dungeon corridor. Scratched into the stone of the corridor's floor is the word Purgatory. To your disappointment, most of the cells are empty. Perhaps the occupants have proceeded on to whatever comes after Purgatory. Regardless, you find one mage still sleeping in her cell, on a shabby straw pallet. You recognize the black velvet robes of a student at the University of Edra, which imitate the wizard robes of the magic academies of old, despite the university's mundane teachings. Despite incarceration, the student has the clean sheen of someone who has rarely known hardship. Her long, curly black hair achieves a luster that is probably impossible without an assortment of beauty products. She wears a small amount of makeup, mascara, blush, that has begun to smudge without access to a mirror. She is short and has a curvy figure barely hinted at behind the contours of her voluminous black academic robes. Her black thigh-high boots look somewhat expensive. In sleep, the student's face is scrunched in a look of annoyance, as if her dream involves someone she has no patience for. You have a strong sense that the student does not belong here. You cast a quick automation spell to open the lock, and it opens easily. The young woman opens her eyes. Did my parents send you? She says eagerly. Am I getting out of here? She looks not much younger than you, but still sounds younger than that. Sitting up, the young student reveals that her wrists are bound, presumably to prevent the casting of spells. Her legs aren't bound, though. What do you say to the student? What's your name? Wizard Vera, the student says with a forced confidence. Did your mayor grant you that title? You ask. Now Vera turns embarrassed. My mayor would probably call me Vera, Caroline's daughter. But sometimes people get titles just because everybody calls them that, right? What else do you say to Vera? And that's fine. I know your name. Here you go. You cut Vera free of her bonds. Oh, thank you, says Vera. She gives you an enthusiastic hug. Let's just escort Vera to safety. I don't really see any reason to keep sniffing around the cathedral basement, you say. Let's go. The two of you leave the cell and head back the way you came towards the exit. Before leaving, you ask Vera to lead you to the room containing prisoners' confiscated possessions. She guides you to a locked metal door. You cast a spell of automation to unlock the door, and electricity courses through it until you hear the snick of a lock turning. Vera looks at you with awe as the last of the electricity courses through the door. You think perhaps she has never seen another mage cast a spell before. You can't help but wonder whether such adoration could be useful to you. Vera dashes inside. My stuff! Inside the room, you find a trove of items taken from prisoners, including Koss's utility belt and a tome of divination magic that Vera claims. Vera hugs her old book of divination to her chest lovingly. It occurs to you that you really ought to try to make someone so devoted to magic your apprentice. Vera would undoubtedly work hard and make sacrifices for the cause. Vera continues to search through the room, then says worriedly, "Do you see a staff tipped with a blue gem?" "You don't see anything like that." "That could be bad if they've taken it for themselves," Vera says. "What does it do?" you ask. "Negation magic stuff," Vera says. "I've never cast any negation magic without it, so I probably shouldn't try now." "Sorry, but I don't think we have the time to look for it," you say. "We're trying to escape now, remember? Just pick a different weapon." She picks up a plain quarterstaff to use as a weapon instead. "How did you come across such a thing anyway?" you ask. Vera shrugs. "I bought it. I wanted to try negation magic, so I bought some good equipment." There aren't many other items in the room, and you suspect this is just a temporary holding place for the goods of the incarcerated. All of the other leftovers must be the usual detritus that accumulates in any lost and found. You gather the items that look the most valuable. "Apothecary Ori, would you be willing to teach me magic?" Vera says as you're about to leave the room. "You're the only mage I know, and this is what I like to do with my life. I don't want to study dry academic stuff at the university. I want to make magic." He touches the door handle, saying with wonder, "You just unlocked that door like it was nothing. I wouldn't even know where to start, and you must be so clever or you wouldn't have gotten down here. And kind, because you rescued me. So please?" I'm not interested in taking on an apprentice right now. Sure, tell your parents I cost 1,000 gold a year. Of course, I have no right to hoard my knowledge when I obtained it freely myself." I mean, I have no right to hoard the knowledge. It's just out there. "Oh, thank you so much," Vera says, pleased by your generous offer. Having retrieved your things, you're ready to begin your escape in earnest. You exit the room with confiscated items and quickly head down the corridor back towards the staircase you used to reach the basement. But when you reach the staircase, you find that the Hierophant herself is descending it, flanked by 2 other saints. "You can't leave so soon," the hunched-old woman says. "We have so much to talk about." The Hierophant is a hunched old woman wearing a white robe with a tall white mitre embroidered with the Eye of Abraxas, and a white stole embroidered on the side with a flame and the other with a sun. She regards you dispassionately and warily. What are you whining about?" Well, I'm so tired of being queasy. Yeah, I really don't like being nauseous. I'm not a fan, which is why I don't like my current migraine medication. To the Hierophant's right is Saint Anne, the saint who used to serve Acriton, whom you encountered when returning from the Ancient Magic Academy. She looks somewhat more sickly than she did when you last saw her, and even her general aura of holiness now can't hide her face's resemblance to a skull. The man to the Hierophant's left is younger and more portly, and he has a full head of curly black hair that culminates in a big beard. I wonder if barfing would fix it. I doubt it, but probably not. It might give you, like, temporary relief, but not for long. You are moved to want to help these 3 holy people, and you wonder why you've strayed from the church. All 3 individuals are clearly giving their all for the betterment of humanity. They all seem slightly drained, as you would expect from people with exhausting professions. "I admit I was not expecting you to leave so soon," the Hierophant says. "I expected more curiosity from you. A basement full of relics and you choose to run away? I can only assume you fear us more than is entirely rational, and that is why you are leaving so soon. So I'm glad you ran into each other," she says lightly, "because it would be a shame if you left before realizing the opportunity the church could present to you. We have mages under our employ. We call them saints, and convince the common folk that the spells are miracles to allay their antiquated superstitions. You, too, could perform magic in the light of day without fear, so long as you are one of us." And I just got clobbered by a plastic memory game toy. Did one of the kiddos just smack you with a game toy? As if the max loudness of it wasn't bad enough. The Hierophant nods to the black-bearded man. "Saint Twinsley here has done the conversion recently, and he can reassure you that your new life will be satisfying. You will do meaningful work, and you have colleagues who share your mission." "It's pretty great," Saint Twinsley avers. The Hierophant waits for something more from Saint Twinsley, but when he is clear he is finished, she continues. "And Saint Anne here is one of our most experienced saints, and she can speak the sanctifications of a life in the service of the church." The default said, "Oh, yeah, it should start at like half volume, right? Like that would make the most sense." Saint Anne smiles tightly. "I did what I could for as long as I could." He looks distant. "It was a good life, yes." The Hierophant seems slightly displeased with where Saint Anne's answer is going and cuts it short. Tell me, Ori, have you ever had Abraxas speak to you directly? Or have you heard from an entity that might be Abraxas? That would surely expedite the process of making you a saint. She studies you carefully as she awaits your answer. You find you are unwilling to lie to the Hierophant. No. The Hierophant looks disappointed. Ah, well, perhaps Abraxas is waiting for the right moment. I hope you'll let me know if he does speak to you. It's an odd thing to say since so few people in the world claim to have ever spoken to Abraxas. You vaguely remember that the Hierophant is one of them. You find yourself saying, alright. That is a strong glamour, you think, but you suppose she has good reasons for using it. Many saints have never heard the personal word of Abraxas, so that doesn't rule you out at all. The Hierophant says gently, Do I want to be a saint? You ask. It feels hard to think. There must be something very strange about the Hierophant's asking, but you can't remember. I hope so, the Hierophant says, but I'm sure you have many questions. Ask away. My glamour is kind of my worst thing. Oh, my negation's not bad, though. Why persecute mages when the saints use magic as well? The Hierophant sighs. You must not be terribly familiar with the history. Magics, as the ancients practiced it, emphasized the individual above everything. Nobody believed that good works could advance one's station in life anymore. It was all about personal power. For those who could practice magic, elitism was the only sensible philosophy. Worse, the common people, who could not master magic, began to believe that they were obsolete. Magic replaced the craftsman with automation, and it made commerce impossible without glamour. It made the soldier more fodder for negation. Magic made the commoners angry at a lack of place in the world. It began to turn the simple against the able, and the simple were more numerous and angry. In this prideful world on the brink of destruction, as better negation spells were developed and the skies were thrown into havoc by automation, Abraxas saw a chance to start over. And now, 2,000 years later, I argue that we have a better world. That is the place for our humanity. The saints may be elevated over humanity in some ways, but they are forced to be humble in others. They must use their magic for good. Now, imagine if one person could thwart the system and become the only person with magic who does not follow the church. Can you imagine the chaos that person could cause? Can you imagine the ego? The belief that just because the person can do something, they may as well? The Hierophant shakes her head. We have a good system in place. Any clever person must see the wisdom in it, and anyone who insists on sacrificing the world order for their own personal glory is, I would argue, evil. So we're not allowed to be great because normal people would feel bad for themselves? Vera says in disbelief. This is stupid. Then go experiment with your way of doing things for 2,000 years and tell me how it goes, the Hierophant says curtly. Why is the church's interest to capture shapeshifters? That is a result of the long-standing alliance between the church and the crown, the Hierophant says. The Inquisitors came first. They just so happened to already be asking pointed questions as they moved from town to town. And they also had the advantage of our saints' divination visions. A few high-profile cases of shapeshifter assassins and saboteurs were enough to convince the early church that it would do more good than harm to help the kingdom root out shapeshifters. But those were only a few shapeshifters among many, you say. How can you decide to arrest a whole race? Because the race of shapeshifters itself is predisposed towards deception and violence. Oh, so they're racist. I see, the Hierophant says coolly. In the rare instances where we discover this is not the case, we offer our captive a new life, as we do with mages who become saints. This is only after extensive vetting. The ancient magics that created the shapeshifters have naturally predisposed them to deception and vice. Most of them are not to be trusted in my sad experience. Dispel the glamour. You draw magic from both the dark sun beneath your feet and the well of energy inside you, mingling them ready for a flash of power that can fizzle out the Hierophant and the Saints' glamours. The belief that they are good, righteous people is difficult to fight. In the end, you convince yourself that if they are good, they will still seem so when their glamours are gone. Black and gold motes begin to visibly swirl around you. You pull them inside you and they burn and sting as they enter. You feel a mounting queasiness in your stomach. Why are you doing that? The Hierophant asks. Is she nervous or just confused? You can't tell. Velocia omnis, antitha venenum alorium, you shout. The energy within you is released with a flash, but your cells begins to do nothing. Perhaps they never had glamours at all. You're so confused. That magic is bad for you, child, the Hierophant says sympathetically. I understand you have a sincere desire for truth, but you have to trust us. You feel very unwell. You just nod your head and close your eyes. Let's find a place for you to rest, the Hierophant says. Somnia velum dormituras. What are you doing to Ori? You dimly hear Vera say before you lose consciousness. When you awaken, you are in one of the basement cells, and the Hierophant St. Anne and St. Twimsby are outside. Your hands are bound behind your back, and you can't cast spells. You're not sure where Vera is. I do apologize, but all this is for my own protection, the Hierophant says. You seem to have some pernicious ideas, and I'd prefer if you didn't cast any spells until we have more of a chance to talk. Friendship requires trust. Untie me if you want to start things off right. What exactly is involved in becoming a saint? What would you have me do as a saint? Is it true that you spoke to Braxis herself? Yada, yada, yada. Friendship requires trust. The Hierophant sizes you up. I think not, she says. You're going to sit still and use the magic of questions and curiosity to find out that the church is actually a nice place to work. What would you have me do as a saint? What would you do with Vera? The student is back in her cell, the Hierophant says. Dangerous, but protected by a powerful family, unwilling to become a saint and possibly unfit anyway. She will likely remain in purgatory for a long time. What would you have me do as a saint? I'm so glad you asked, the Hierophant says. Most saints are wandering holy people doing good works and spreading out the words of the church, and you would do that. At first, as all saints must, but I have something special in mind for you. I've been thinking of installing a new advisor to the Queen, the Hierophant continues. Blessed advisor Armand was an inquisitor before he obtained his current position. That inspires a certain rigidity of thinking. He does not know, for example, how the miracles of saints work at all. We have reason to think that a Magisterian empire may prove a threat in the near future, and so a mage-turned-saint who lived on one of the border towns could prove a better advisor than the one bound to tradition. I hope to thread the needle of using more magic without publicly admitting we are doing so. I don't really want to become a saint, man. I don't want to. I don't want to become a saint. You're not the first mage to swear such a thing, the Hierophant says, but I won't hold you to it. We'll see whether you change your mind later. The Hierophant seems to leave you, closing and locking the cell door behind them. Since your bindings prevent you from casting anything, you try to think of a way to escape that doesn't involve magic. You kick the door, you feel around for secret doors. But you can't think of anything. You lay down on the cold stone floor, thinking about your decisions. Should you have taken the Hierophant up on her offer? You try kicking your cell door, but it doesn't give. You kick again and again, but it doesn't give. You are utterly alone. You lie down, the cold stone floor against your cheek reminds you of a funeral bier. Eventually, but not soon enough, sleep comes. Hey, a familiar voice rasps at your door to your cell. You open your eyes and look through the small barred window of your cell door. It's Vera. How don't you get free? You strain to reach your eyes and rub them, but your bonds prohibit you. I kept demanding that the guard show me my wand to make sure nothing happened to it, Vera says. Finally, I think to shut me up, he showed me what did happen to it. Namely, it was being slowly digested by a weird monster that looked like a treasure chest. I think they feed all the magic items to it. Since it was my last chance, I tried channeling negation magic through the wand, even though I wasn't holding it. I wasn't expecting it to work, but it did. The giant ball of negation energy engulfed the room as I ran out, and when I came back, I held my breath to enter the negative energy cloud, and the guard and the weird monster were gone, and my wand was still there. Vera brandishes the sapphire-tipped wand to illustrate the point. Clever, you say. As I said, I didn't think it would work, Vera says. I guess since you went there, I knew you didn't have any other options. Vera frees you from your bonds. So much better. Thank you, you say sincerely. You're going to teach me magic, remember? Vera says with a smile. Of course, you say. You visit a nearby storage room to retrieve your things. Then, in the company of Vera, you sneak out of the cathedral dungeon. At first, you think you managed to lose the forces of the church back in the cathedral. You hurriedly rent horses and ride out of the capital without incident. But a few hours down the road, you see a formation of 12 torches following you in the darkness, perhaps a third of a mile away. You have little doubt these are inquisitors and church guards. You can't run away forever. Perhaps it's time to stop running and think of a way to keep the church at bay, permanently. Chapter 5. Returning. I think they're gaining on us, Vera says, looking back at the torchlights of your pursuers. Though you have enhanced your horse's speed with vibromancy somewhat, the fact is that the horses you could find at the moment's notice, late at night, are not used to hard riding. You wonder whether there's a more permanent way to keep the church from following you. My glamour's not great. My fighting is very good. My negation is okay. my Lux Gladius skills. It is. Enough, you say, slowing your horse down and wheeling about. I have to put an end to this. Vera looks rather excited to hear you say this. What are you going to do? She follows you. You fire up your Lux Gladius, blazing with blue light in the night. Whoa, Vera says. Are you really going to? When your pursuers are just the length of a tournament field away, you charge. The church guards at the center raise halberds to meet your charge. With a flash of your Lux Gladius, you cut off the ends of their halberds. Then, holding your Lux Gladius at waist level, you cut one of the guards in two. Okay, well, we're just killing people now, I guess. The other guards try to close in on you, and your horse panics and throws you, but you leap from guard to guard, Lux Gladius flashing, and their horses begin to panic as well. You take advantage of the confusion and slice some more. When you're done, you're surrounded by dismembered pieces of church guards and 10 riderless horses. 2 guards have fled. You're rather proud of having spared the horses. What's my church relationship like? Pretty bad. Alright, cool. You are amazing, Vera says. You take the best of the church guard's horses and urge the others to run free. They run back towards the capital, which you suppose is where all their hay is. If the Hierophant has any sense, this will be the last time she sends anybody after you. Spare only the horses. Only the horses, and apparently those other 2 people who ran away. You return to Acroton with Vera. The journey takes a week on horseback, time enough for both of you to digest the fact that you've just killed a bunch of people who you would consume holy. How's it feel to be a heretic? I never meant for this to happen. My mind is in tumult. This conflict was inevitable, but I will win. My intentions are good. They'll eventually see that. Nah, I'd win. You had this feeling that you would eventually come into conflict with the church, given your aspirations to be a wizard, but this is a conflict you intend to win in the end. Vera insists that going along with you to Acroton would be totally fine with her parents. She just left a note for them with a courier in the capital, notifying them of her transfer to your fine learning institution. What does that put my calculation? 57%. Vera insists that her instructions begin immediately, even before you reach Acroton. You acquiesce and begin basic Vera's instructions in automation. A subject Vera turns out to know nothing about. You discover that despite the fact that you learn magic from a tome, it's still difficult to put your personal understanding into words. This exercise is useful for understanding the material yourself. Lurk Poke 2, thank you, Hoshi, I appreciate it. At first, Vera simply memorizes what you say and repeats it back nearly verbatim when you ask a question. It's slightly unnerving how well she does this, and at the same time frustrating when it becomes clear she didn't understand what you said. You spend a good part of the trip trying to make Vera unlearn the bad habits that were, according to Vera, quite effective at the university. But this is better than the university, Vera asserts. Who knew getting captured by Inquisitors would turn out so great? Yeah, great, you say faintly. You're not entirely convinced Vera isn't going to blow herself up someday. When you arrive at Acroton, the town looks a bit scraggly from having been scoured by negative cloud energy, but the rebuilding is proceeding nicely. You can see the distance that the giant fans in the east that you restarted are still operational, pushing away future negative energy clouds. You can see as you ride into town that the townsfolk are most indifferent to your return. You suppose that you kept a low enough profile that the townsfolk are still unaware of your existence. That has some advantages. I don't mean to be a burden to you, Vera says. If you can direct me to a nice inn, I can stay there while I look for somewhere more permanent. You try taking Vera to the nicest inn you know. She winces slightly on seeing it, but thanks you and walks in. You unlock the storm doors to your apartment and enter. Bene Ventis Dominix, your golem says to welcome you. It's still standing by the doors as you left it. Bene Ventis, Ramp? You say, glad to see it again. You collapse into one of your antique wooden chairs, wishing it had a few more cushions. Yes, it's good to be home. You head to the market to restock your pantry after a time away, but when you return, you're shocked to discover that the whole market area is burned down. Apparently there was a terrible thunderstorm the day after you left, and a lightning strike started fire that rapidly consumed everything. I'm gonna be successful in not boifing today. I'm gonna be successful. I probably might be. Just don't boif. It's okay. It's okay. Just listen to the readings. It's okay. We'll get you to not boif. Now a thin layer of grey ash covers the great square, and stray pieces of charred wood are all that's left in most of the stalls. Some of the tiniest vendor stalls remain. Just fruit seller Fran's stall, Sia Marie, and the turkey-like vendor remain. I'm trying. It'll be okay. It'll be alright. You feel a twinge of guilt. Did your automation magic contribute to the thunderstorms to make this destruction possible? Gloomily, you realize that regardless of your other feats, you almost certainly are at least partially responsible for the destruction of the market square. You should at least visit Fruit Seller Fran before you go so that you can restock your food. Those turkey legs probably don't keep very long. The old crone Fruit Seller Fran smiles pleasantly when she sees you. Her stock of apples and bananas looks a little sad. You think they may have been left out in the rain during the recent thunderstorm. Welcome to my humble stall, Apothecary Ori. Did you come to buy fruit, or were you looking to chat with old Fran? You've heard that Fran is often willing to sell her gossip to anyone with enough coin. You suppose you can make use of that. It's the buy rumors about local politics. When you show Fran your 50 gold, she scoops up. What would you like to know, dearie? She croons. What do you know about the political situation here in Ackerton? You ask Fran. Fran shrugs. Cost the popular mayor doing good work, but I'll let you in on a little secret. Cost is a shapeshifter, she winks at you. I already knew that. Fran, your fruit looks shit. I mean, the fruit's not great, but it's also partially our fault. But also the fruit doesn't look great. You purchase the fruit as you intended to buy and bid Fran adieu. Having done what you set out to do, you return home. Mayor Kaz continues to run the town smoothly. In some ways, it's exactly the same town you left. Kaz keeps you on a secret town wizard and asks you for ideas about how magic could improve Ackerton. After doing some research on the town's woes, you come up with the following ideas. Use automation in the foundry and other places we produce goods. Use divination to increase the town's security. Use viromancy to speed the reduction of livestock devastated at the last death crowd. These are probably unintended consequences. We should leave things the way you are. I kind of just want to increase the security of the town. I think that's probably for the best. You recommend Mayor Kaz that a good way to keep the town safe would be to install a magical security system around town that could record what happens at every street corner. That sounds like an excellent idea, Kaz says. The Twilight Band and Silver Paladins are always relying on anonymity and the difficulty of procuring evidence. It raises questions about privacy, to be sure, but that's nothing compared to the real benefits we could achieve with such a device. Well, I didn't mean to install like Big Brother in this town. That's not what I meant. Oh well. Use town funds to purchase some similar nice large-cut crystals for the town market. You know that there used to be a few in every household for entertainment purposes, and thus they are dug up all that time ago and sold as cheap and plentiful decorative baubles. The broadcast they once relayed signed off long ago. You then go about town binding the crystals to lampposts, so that the crystals will show on their surfaces what could be seen from the top of each lamppost. As you do this, you notice that after the spell is in effect, you do not have the sense that you are being watched. In response to your surprise, you even sense that the watcher is surprised. So these crystals appear to relay something about the person watching to the person being watched. An attitude, a mood. The Mayor of Ackerton will certainly feel more omnipresent, but that's just Kaz, so you suppose that's not terrible. You create a rack of crystals in the mayor's office for observation purposes, each little crystal reflecting a different scene in the town. You suppose you'll have to wait to see how this turns out, but Kaz still seems enthusiastic about the idea. Meanwhile, you have taken on Vera as an apprentice. Vera still can't quite believe you're giving her this education for free, and she's grateful. Your humble school meets in Vera's newly rented apartment, which takes up a full ground floor of one of the nicer apartment buildings in Ackerton. Vera has somehow managed to acquire a full set of classy-looking wood furniture, surprising antiquities for someone who looks so young. One wall is equipped with a large slate blackboard. She even acquired a desk, which faces the blackboard and comes equipped with a very well-cushioned chair, drawers filled with canned sardines, Vera's favorite. Oh. Like canned sardines? Weirdo. When Vera begins her instruction, she seems somewhat single-mindedly focused on learning negation and automation. She suggests trying to build another wand of the kind she recovered from the treasure chest monster. You liked Vera's enthusiasm, but weren't sure she was ready for a single-minded focus. She seemed to know basically nothing about glamour or viromancy, for example. What course of study did you decide on? I insist on teaching Vera all 5 schools of magic equally. You thought it would be more useful for Vera to study all schools of magic equally instead of specializing, and you told her doing so at your first meeting at her apartment. I guess you're right, Vera agrees with a sigh. And you begin your students' instruction in glamour, viromancy, and automation. You can tell in your first introductory lesson how motivated Vera is to learn each school. Negation remains exciting to Vera, as blasting things is an obvious display of power. Divination she feels a bit burned by. She seems to think the drawback is too high a cost most of the time. Automation is very exciting indeed, as she recalls the wonders of the ancients. Like them, Vera hardly pays attention to your warning about causing chaos in the atmosphere. Her attitude goes from stubbornly bored to keenly interested as soon as you switch to the topic of glamours, pointing out that they create instant popularity and likability. You try not to point out how absurd it was for Vera to resist learning the subject when she had little idea what it involved or how easy it was. When you describe some worst case scenarios regarding rot, Vera loses interest in glamour all over again. Oh well, she'll thank you later for being a realist about it. Lastly, Vera seems to have an intense antipathy for viromancy. You're quite surprised, since it's so generally useful, but your warning that viromancy tends to have unforeseen consequences seems to make Vera extremely paranoid about it. So any spell you cast on yourself might just kill you? Vera asks, horrified. I can cast a spell to dissolve a door and it might dissolve a building instead? These issues, plus the inherently complexity of plants and animals, are all just random facts that must be memorized about them, signal that viromancy will be Vera's worst subject. Vera makes good progress in negation, and it's actually a struggle to stay ahead of her. You learn some interesting facts about the advanced negation spells yourself. Vera is resistant to your lectures in divination and actually has the nerve to read a different book during your lessons, despite being the only other person in the room. You rebuke this behavior and is not quite as gentle as it could be. When Vera stubbornly does the same thing the next day, you realize that advancing her knowledge of divination is a lost cause, and you seem to be retreading information she already knows anyway. You shift your focus to the other disciplines. It's easy to teach Vera automation, a subject with which she is extremely enthusiastic, but how much automation magic will you use in your instruction, knowing that every spell riles the atmosphere? A moderate amount. A little failure now and then is good. You provide some well-structured automation lessons to Vera that are challenging enough for her to fail sometimes, but not so open-ended that Vera is free to flail about and make huge mistakes. Occasionally, this allows Vera to try a new approach you haven't thought of. Lastly, viromancy is clearly Vera's weakest subject. It's hard to get over Vera's paranoia that something terrible will happen in retribution for each spell. Still, you manage to pique a little of Vera's interest by showing her how viromancy can perform minor beauty enhancements, more lustrous hair, whiter teeth, smoother skin. Vera has long since used somewhat questionable products to achieve these effects in the past, and unlike those products, you can at least offer explanations of how your magic works. As a bonus in researching these spells, you gain a better knowledge of how to cultivate a stunning appearance even without magic. Vera begins to compliment you on your appearance before each lesson, which feels simultaneously inappropriate and somewhat pleasing. Indeed, you feel that throughout all this instruction, Vera has really come to look up to you, even idolize you. One day, shortly after the conclusion of the lesson divination, Vera remarks, "Could we maybe take a break for a week? I feel like I still don't know anyone in this town. I haven't gone on a date since getting here and I'm not getting any younger." Vera smiles at you suggestively. "Could you maybe show me around?" You're relatively certain Vera is suggesting a kind of date, but you're not certain that it would be entirely appropriate for a teacher and student to go out together socially like that, although you suppose you get to make the rules here. On the other hand, when you think about the age difference between you, it's not much, about 5 years. You think of Vera as much younger because she's a student. Your student. Seems bad. I pass. Let's keep our student-teacher boundaries. I'm willing to show her around, but only if I stop being her teacher. I'll show Vera around socially, but not romantically. I'll show Vera around and let her know that I'm interested in her. I'll show her socially. That's fine. Well, I can't help you with the date, you say, but I can get you to help you to know Accreton. Vera gives you a curious look, and you suspect she wants to say, "How is that not a date?" But instead she says, "That would be great. Thank you so much." Though Vera shows up at your place next morning, hoping to be shown the town, you demur. There's so much town to show with the market destroyed. Disappointed, Vera agrees to meet you at that night instead. That night you take her to the Squeaky Wheel Tavern, which is a little bit of a dive bar, but definitely where all the people Vera's age go to hang out and make eyes at each other. But Vera's not making eyes at anyone else in the bar. Vera's definitely making eyes at you. "How old did you say you were again?" 25. You answer truthfully. You think it would probably sound like a big number to Vera. "Well, we have the same tens digit," Vera murmurs. "Barely. That's the worst way to put that. That's the absolute worst way to put that." "Listen, I came to show you around," you say. "Don't get any ideas, alright?" "No, there's something I have to tell you," Vera says, "and now's as good a time as any." Vera leans close. "I love you," Vera says earnestly. This happens at one of those moments when all conversation happens to have stopped at the bar, and many patrons in the bar turn to look at you. God damn it. This seems very fast. This seems quite fast. Tell Vera I see you in the field the same way and kiss her. Tell Vera we can't be lovers because I'm her instructor. Tell Vera that she's too young for me. Tell Vera that she doesn't know what love is. It's our relationship. Very good. I don't know. We're kind of just friends. I'm your instructor. I'm sorry, Vera. We can't do this. I'm your instructor. I'm probably larger than life to you, but you could never see the real me. We could never be equals. Vera nods bleakly, stunned but not surprised. Okay, but I'm sorry. I can't concentrate anymore. When you talk about magic, you're all I can think about. I would prefer my pupil to show a bit more interest in magic than that, you say crisply. Try to show me you're serious about it tomorrow and leave your idle fantasies at the door. The next day, when your teaching resumes, Vera seems uncomfortable, as if it's still stinging from her rejection. But you think this is the best for Vera's studies, except glamour, where you decide it would be best to emphasize the possible side effects of rot until Vera never wants to go near the magic. One day, Tal misses a brunch appointment with you. It's not like her. So you go to the small house she shares with her mother. There, you find that her front door has been marked with a red S, and someone has fashioned the ends to it to look like the head and tail of a snake. You heard of this symbol. It's what the Twilight Band, the anti-shapeshifter fraternity, puts on a building to send a message. Leave or die. A building within this mark is typically burned within a week if the owner hasn't left it by then. You hesitantly knock on the door. Tal answers and seems stricken when she sees you. Oh, she says, reddening. Sorry, I forgot all about brunch. Behind her, Tal's foyer looks like as though it's been cleared of all valuables. You'd think she's moving. I can see you've had other things on your mind this morning, you say. You aren't really moving, are you? I'd have thought you would fight the Twilight Band single-handedly if necessary. Tal shakes her head. I can't risk Mother's life. They'd even kill her, even though she's completely human. So what now, you say. Now I help Mom move to Triton, Tal says. I heard the Twilight Band's less active there. And you? Oh, they can come for me, Tal says. I'm not moving. You think you owe it to Tal to help her fight this thing out. What magic will you use? Cast a divination to find out who the mysterious leader of the Twilight Band is. Cast divination to learn the Twilight Band's meeting place, then blow it up with negation. Invent an automatic sprinkler system to help Tal or anyone put out a fire. You know what? Sure. Cast a divination spell to find out the leader of the Twilight Band. You place your fingers to your temples, close your eyes, and send your mind reaching for the identity of the leader of the Twilight Band. Mysterion gnomai apocalypto indico prostitos. An image forms in your mind of Banker Sarah, your landlord. You can't quite believe she's in charge of a group as unpleasant as she may be. In your vision, Banker Sarah meets with a well-heeled male client at a local bank. She seems distracted and casts a suspicious glance your way. You dispel the vision, though you think she may have already realized it was you who was spying on her. Banker Sarah is the leader of the Twilight Band, you tell Tal, somewhat astonished. My landlord. Huh? Tal says. What do you think she'll do about it? We should go to the mayor with this information. Maybe she'll be captured. We should kill her. The band will be in disarray without her. I want to turn her into a shapeshifter. I want to turn her into a tortoise. Let's go to Mayor Kaz. It's worth a shot, Tal agrees. You go to Mayor Kaz with your tip about the identity of the leader of the Twilight Band. I've been meaning to deal with them for a long time, Kaz says. Don't worry, I've got this covered. You soon find that a massive raid of Banker Sarah's house turned up the indigo roads that he used at Twilight Band meetings, along with a ledger containing the names of the other members. Nearly 15 people are arrested, a huge operation for the tiny Ackerton. Tal's house is not burned down, and she tells you that shapeshifters of Ackerton are grateful for your divination actions on their behalf. Not my favorite kind of adventure, to be sure, Tal murmurs as Mayor Koss locks up the last of the Twilight Band in a prison cell. This was a pretty good dragon to slay, though, you say. Yeah, Tal agrees. You continue to wonder whether the Hierophant will send another party after you to reclaim you, but this never happens. Perhaps she doesn't want to risk more catastrophic losses. After a few months under your new crystal-based security system, crime is drastically reduced in Ackerton. In particular, a huge number of Twilight Band members are rounded up after an attempted arson attempt. This includes banker Sarah, who's the crystals revealed to be the head of the Twilight Band. She's arrested and dragged, kicking and screaming, to prison. The Silver Paladins are also basically put out of business since their whole racket was protection, and the crystals make it clear that they themselves are the vandals terrorizing the merchants who don't pay up. The warehouses they use as a base is revealed to contain any number of illicit substances and forbidden weapons, and Mayor Kaz orders the building raided and then burned to the ground for good measure. Every time a criminal gets busted, you get some of the credit because of your great security system. You're a hero. And yet, there's always just a little lingering sense in the back of everyone's mind that they're being watched. It's not as bad as being the victim of a crime, but if you had to put words into it, you'd say even you don't still feel free. But perhaps complete freedom is an impossibility in a functioning society. Who can say? One fall day, when the weather has begun to turn cold, you receive a knock at your door from a messenger draped in the Queen's livery, a gold crown above a gold lion rampant of navy blue. The Queen has received word that there's a town wizard here in Ackerton, the messenger says. Your heart plummets. And she wishes to extend a better offer than your current one, as if it's not seeming for a mayor to have access to a staff that she does not. Oh, that's very different than what you were expecting. She's offering me a position at her court? The messenger nods. Her Majesty offers you a special position as her counsel, he says. You may have your choice of titles and a stipend of 10,000 gold a year. And I can freely perform magic? You inquire hesitantly. Just so, the messenger says, frowning, as if he's unsure of the wisdom of this stipulation. The choice is easy. I accept, you tell him. Chapter 6. The Queen's Court. You await Queen Thekla in the Great Throne Room, a large hall festooned with banners of various important noble houses and busy with gossiping corridors. The court's main topic of conversation at the moment appears to be you, as you catch darting glances from around the room, but they are subtle. You never quite catch a direct stare. Since you are still relatively unknown in the capital, you suppose it's your clothing that is drawing their attention. What have you decided to wear to court? Black robes. You decide your black robes will continue to serve its purpose just fine. You gather that the courtiers find your black clothing extremely ominous and that they worry that you're going to turn the court evil sometime. Vilification? Where is that even listed? I'm fine. The courtiers' own outfits are highly exaggerated, with long pointed shoes that curl at the tips and giant feathered hats that must make it a challenge to navigate a crowded room. You suppose they're advertising the fact that they're too important to ever do anything menial. You perform a visual scale of the room to identify who can see and hear what. Balconies afford courtiers on the second level a view of most of the proceedings, but there are areas under these overhangs where individuals would not be able to see. The courtiers standing and sitting all along the sides of the throne room look inward, meaning those who wish to be seen by others stand along the sides, while those who wish to only observe and take places in the back. The crowd is thickest and never silent in the back, so you would take your place there if you wish to have a public but quiet conversation. Such observations may help you make your way through the capital's political scene. The throne, a large gilded seat flaking at the edges but still commanding, is accompanied by a second seat of what appears to be pure alabaster. The back of the chair is engraved with a flame, an eye, and a sun. Must be the seat for the Queen's blessed advisor. You briefly wonder whether you will get a chair as well. The servant in the Queen's navy blue and gold livery emerges from the back door behind the throne and beckons to you. You follow him through the back door and into a passage that seems to not be intended for the public, judging from the old stone walls that appear dusted but unadorned. Burning torches provide light. There are no windows. The servant knocks on a plain-looking wooden door. Come in, commands an alto from within. The servant opens the door and you're surprised to find yourself being led into the Queen's bedchamber. The Queen herself sits at a cluttered writing desk. She wears a puffy white dress that sparkles in the light from a barred skylight above. She looks younger than you expect. You knew she was 33, 8 years older than you, but somehow you expected her to look more middle-aged. Her smooth skin and lustrous long hair admits no ravages of time, but her eyes bespeak hard-earned wisdom and a touch of amusement. You wonder at first where you're supposed to sit. The canopy four-post bed? The Queen pushes her chair away from the desk slightly, and the servant drags a cushioned chair from out from behind the veiled bed and into position across from the Queen. Have a seat, Queen Thecla says, unless you plan to conjure a better one. Her attitude is pleasant but slightly sardonic. You have the strange sensation of being watched from elsewhere, and you notice tiny embrasures in the three of the walls where arrows could pass. Protection from assassination seems to have trumped aesthetic concerns at nearly every stage of the palace's design, and you have no doubt you would be full of arrows in a moment if you made any sudden moves. You slowly and deliberately take the seat opposite the queen. You must be Mayor Kos's secret wizard, Queen Thecla says. Indeed, you affirm. I understand you're willing to be my advisor, but the deal is not final on my end, Queen Thecla says. I'd just like you to just answer some questions for me. She pauses and you stifle a go ahead because it would be presumptuous to give the team permission to do anything. Are the magics of the Saints and the magic of the Ancients one and the same? Queen Thecla asks you. Yes, the church is engaged in a grand deception. Yes, but for the good of humanity, this must not become widely known. No, the magic of the Ancients is more powerful. No, it's all the same. You describe the church's plot to use Mage of the Saints for the best of your knowledge. How interesting, Queen Thecla says lightly. And why do you see fit to reveal their deception? They've done me wrong. I see no reason not to treat them in kind. In truth is always preferable to falsehood. I'm your loyal subject, bound to always tell you the truth. Hell yeah. An obedient subject, the queen says. Your answer's too obsequious by half. It's not as if you rushed to tell me about this after all. Try to be a little more honest and think less of what will please me. You know that your response is not endeared you to the queen, but at least the queen knows that the church is deceptive. And which ancient schools do you specialize in? Queen Thecla asks. I've read a little of all 5. In books we have not seen fit to turn over to the chance. In books we have not seen fit to turn over to the Church of Arvomancy, negation. She says this last word with a kind of naughty grin. But you can't quite tell whether you're being baited. You don't entirely honest, but you suspect the queen might see through a complete bluff. I am real good at automation. I prefer creating wondrous inventions above all else. Oh, I see, Queen Thecla says, seeming slightly disappointed. Things to amuse and delight, I suppose. I find that a little charming. But it's very practical to restart the inventions of the ancients, you say. I've restarted the fans that keep the negative C at bay. Oh, Queen Thecla says, now interested. I see, I was thinking too small. Yes, the ancients did have some most impressive large machines. If you could bring them back to life, that would be something. Where does that put the relationship? Fine, okay. Ooh, my relationship with Vera tanked after that. The queen leans forward and steeples her fingers. Now tell me about your hopes and dreams, she says. What is at the end of this road for you? You find it difficult to answer honestly when it's clear she's trying to evaluate your character and usefulness, but she seems the sort who finds honesty refreshing to the point. I'm just taking things one step at a time. I want to create something really marvelous. I want power, of course. Power is freedom. I find magic fascinating. I want to learn all I can. I want to do good however I can for as long as I can. I find magic fascinating. I too want to learn all I can, but it's in the service of a greater goal, Queen Thecla says, chiding you a little. The pursuit of knowledge, wherever it may lead, is what got the ancients in trouble, recall. You shrug. Had they known even more, they might have saved themselves. The queen smiles a little. You're clever. I like that. But just keep in mind that this pursuit of knowledge without limits has a bad reputation in this kingdom. And now I've saved the most important question of this interview for last. The queen says, to whom do you owe your utmost allegiance? Is it me or someone else? The queen says this lightly, as if any answer will do, but you doubt that. My first loyalty is always to my own conscience. The queen says as she grimaces slightly, just like the nobles who tried to hold on to their taxes because their conscience declared that taxation is theft. No, I have a dim view of those who claim their own conscience as the final arbiter. It's just a claim to do whatever you please. That's not it at all. Queen Thecla still regards you skeptically, but at least you profess your morals. That's worth something to the public, I suppose. Queen Thecla concludes your meeting by saying, well, I'm satisfied to an extent. You can be my wizard, but I think I want to keep you out of the public eye. I may be impressed with your brazenness, but I worry about my image if you were to speak so forwardly at court. The same liveried servant who escorted you before is waiting at the door. Servant Pons can show you to your new quarters, and you can provide you with your first payment, Queen Thecla says. Welcome to the palace, Apothecary Ori. You take this to mean Queen Thecla will not officially grant you a new title. That's fine. You're interested in the power of your unofficial office. Your new room at the palace, what you think is a cleared-out torture chamber, underground and near the Queen's dungeon. You can tell some heavy equipment has been dragged alongside the stone floors, and there's still little metal nubs in the wall where you assume manacles used to be. Still, it is spacious for that, and private as well. The Queen must have assumed from your conversation that your magical experiments need to be far away from prying eyes. At the same time, it's slightly embarrassing, and you will gain practice slipping down here when nobody is looking. Your practice of taking the palace tunnels everywhere also acquaints you with some of the lesser-used old rooms containing antiques, curios, and caches of old books. Your things arrive from Aquitaine in a week. Your furniture and possessions remain roughly the same, even if your locale has changed, and you decorate your new room with the sentimental curios that once adorned your old basement. Your secret room beneath the palace admits more freedom than you would have had in the public eye, and you're able to sneak your golem Bramf into the room. Don't wander out here without my permission, you tell your golem. The servants might worry they're being replaced, and the last thing I need is to have the servants allied against me. Hola, Kala, Dominix, the golem affirms. You know the drill. Keep my things safe and help me with magical experiments before.
Drink water.
Hola, Kala, Dominix. Thank you for the hydrate. I will become it the moist. Yeah, thank you very much. Hi, Bulba. How's stream going? When you are nearly done moving into the place, you find a note at the bottom of the wagon bed. Your mother's neat calligraphy is unmistakable. She must have slipped it under a box while she and your father were helping you move. Ori, we will always be proud of you no matter what you do. But remember what Grandma always said, that the greatest magics in the world are love and hope. And a good joke your father wants me to add. I suppose she did say that once. You are dear to us, magical no matter what you do. Try to do good, eat healthy, meet someone nice, preferably wealthy. You might think it doesn't matter, but it does. Your father is acting all insulted now, but of course I mean if you find your true love, you should marry whoever you choose. If on the other hand you're indecisive, and I know how long you take to make choices sometimes, then it couldn't hurt to have some more income in the family. Love and hope, Mama. As a result of your move to the capital, Talos decided to move there as well. She applies to be a special envoy for the Queen, and her impeccable record as a hunter in Aquitaine gets her accepted. She spends much of her time away from capital and missions, but when she's back in the capital, she wants to spend what time she can with you. Vera moves to the capital to continue her instruction under you. You meet her at night in her apartment in the Merchants District, close to where her parents live. You learn from the palace gossip that Blessed Sam has been promoted from being an Inquisitor and Blessed Jacob's partner to being the Queen's bestowed advisor, replacing Blessed Advisor Armand. Apparently the Hierophant believes that your position as the Queen's magical advisor would be best counterbalanced by someone from the church who's familiar with your case. You expect to disagree with him about a number of things. You blink. Shortly after you move into the palace, the Queen calls to you in her chamber once again. The Queen this time wears a shimmering blue dress with black lace, as formal as the last dress you saw her in. A solemn man in a gray tunic and black cape is bent over to whisper in her ear. He reflexively straightens as you enter. I believe it's time to let you know why I contacted you, the Queen says. This is Spy Master Dahl. She nods to the man in gray and black. We received reports of some unusual flying objects near the Negative Sea, Spy Master Dahl says. Our spies have now confirmed that small metal vessels have flown out of the Negative Sea. Their hulls apparently impervious to the corrosion of the Black Cloud. They have flown over several towns near the Negative Sea now. We believe they're scouts. We haven't had an invasion in over 200 years, Queen Thecla tells you. With the mountains to the north and south and the Negative Sea to the east, our army has only had to deal with Dalmatians and their ships from the west, and the occasional insurrection, of course, but we're basically out of practice at warfare. While the Magisterian Empire, they probably never gave up either magic or war, and have been practicing since the Negative Sea separated us. Let's not be hasty, the Spy Master says with a raised hand. We don't know what they desire war at all. These vessels were magical, certainly, but they're not visibly armed. But they have the technology of the ancients, and we do not, and they can readily see that, Queen Thecla turns to you. And that is where you come in. You must advise us on how to best catch up to the Magisterians. Tell us which magics we need to convince them that we aren't backward. He blinks at the sudden responsibility. You're asking me to shape society itself? Oh, you don't get free reign like that, the Queen says. I'm bound to listen to the church as well, and they will like none of this. If the people turn against me as a witch, and the kingdom will surely burn. So we must move subtly but swiftly, so that the church cannot turn back the clock. Queen concludes the meeting, asks you to think about what she's said and to prepare for the debates on the subject with her blessed advisor, who shall act as the voice of the church and tradition. Your mind reels as you make your way back to the room. What magic should the kingdom revive, and which should stay buried? It's a big responsibility, but the Magisterians have only sent scouts so far, for you have little time. The very same evening, you find that a letter has been slipped under your door. You have proven to be a wily snake indeed, slithering up to sit at the Queen's side. You'll be pleased to know that my interest in you has personally dropped dramatically since we last crossed paths. I thought you were something else. But here's a secret for you. I'm not so bound to tradition as you might think. I'm told your magic is necessary to defending the kingdom from the neighbors, so be it. I am more practical than you might realize, but the moment I believe you are a bigger threat than they, I will see you dead, magic or no. Show some respect and try not to overdo it. That's all I ask of you, wizard. Sincerely, blessed and most holy Hierophant Elizabeth. So it seems the Inquisitors won't be trying to abduct you in the night anymore. Probably. You heave a relief sigh and crumple the letter. The next day, you begin the task of deciding just how far the Kingdom of Irina should advance in magic in a short time. You meet the private chamber with no windows that you think was once used for intimate dining. There's a round table in the center with 3 ornate wooden chairs spaced in equal distance apart, though the largest and most ornate chair is surely for the Queen. A crystal chandelier provides candlelight in the middle of the day. The blessed advisor is already seated in his chair, and just as you heard from the palace gossip, it's none other than the erstwhile Blessed Sam. When he sees it's you, he gives an obviously forced smile, rubs his temples as if he has a headache, then clasps his hands to mutter a short prayer. Queen Thecla wears the most elaborate dress you have seen her wear yet, a floor-length deep blue dress with a puffy silhouette and black laced embellishments, and a giant navy blue collar accentuated with tiny sapphires. When she takes her own chair, the deliberations begin. As you both know, we need to advance the kingdom in a hurry, Queen Thecla says. She gives the blessed advisor Sam a steady look. We can't be too attached to the past. But the Book of Abraxas is our compass, Sam objects. Without it, we're just making up rules. I have no patience for myths, nostalgia, or fantasy right now, the Queen interrupts, earning a strung look from Sam. The truth is, there was never a time when the world was not changing out from under us. The world has always been in crisis. The old ways are always dying, and the world has always been born anew. Let's start with the creation of impressive ships. You can tell Queen Thecla intends to talk around the Magisterian Empire for as long as possible, just in case someone walks in on the conversation. Apothecary Ori, how it is done? Automation magic, your majesty, you say. Not only the power of the ships themselves, but also to create the magical factories that achieve the speed of production unmatched by human hands. It suddenly dawns on you that even though the conventional wisdom blames the ancients for the perpetual thunderheads above you, Magisterians may have been using automation for 2,000 years since then, making the storms worse. But if so, they have shown enough restraint to avoid bringing the end of the war. Can we do the same? The Queen asked. Use magical power instead of animals and human labor to increase production. Blessed Advisor Sam looks as if he's going to be ill at this suggestion. It's dangerous because the world is already on the brink of disaster with the storms wrought by automation magic, you say. But certainly automation is the most time-tested source of magical power. Well, do you have other suggestions? The Queen asks. The Church's recommendation would be to encourage people to discover the power within themselves, Blessed Advisor Sam says with some agitation. I know I'm new here, but how can we just start using magic like this? It's crazy. In a less metaphorical sense, negative energy could be used for your source of power, you say. Ignoring the sense of general approbation in the room, you continue. The Dark Sun is not inherently evil. Its power is just most commonly turned into blast using negation magic. But it doesn't have to be so uncontrolled. The negative energy beneath the surface of the Earth could potentially provide a source of power that has none of the climate-changing drawbacks of automation. And our mastery over negation would also prove an advantage in the war. You know that general superstition about the Dark Sun is still rampant, so you decide to close on a brighter note. Or, finally, we could engineer beasts to take the place of what machines might have done. Dodecapades. Whatever. Dragons, their food would be a very safe source of energy. And what is your recommendation? Let's see. My negation's pretty bad, isn't it? It's not bad. It's average. Let's get some negation going. You take a deep breath before delivering your unpopular verdict. I think negative energy is the only way to catch up to the neighbors without destroying the world. What? No, Blessed Advisor Sam practically shouts. Negation is a cursed magic. Have you forgotten that it created the negative sea and all the death clouds? The kingdom must not play with such vile forces. But it is all more lies and superstition, the Queen Thecla says. The Blessed Advisor Sam falls silent, stunned. Can you make it safe? Queen Thecla asks you. I can try, you say. Good enough for me, the Queen says. Engage in your medical research and make it so. You're actually glad the Queen decided to keep you out of sight. Acting in secret means that it's far less likely that your plan to harness negation will be discovered prematurely. Once the people see what good it can do, you think the people will be far less repulsed by forbidden magic. It will not be easy to convince the people that magic is suddenly acceptable, the Queen says. Perhaps some glamour magic is in order to ensure that people are willing to follow where I lead. The church would not approve of a secular ruler impersonating a saint with magic, Blessed Advisor Sam says. Please, let the people be in awe of only the saints so that they may hold goodness in the highest regard of your power. You weigh whether to warn the Queen about the effects of rot, or decide she will find out soon enough anyway. The Queen blanches at your explanation of rot but murmurs. I am prepared to do whatever it takes to lead the kingdom. But will it be worth it? What do you think? Hi Jerry, how's it going? I don't think you need glamour. You're pretty impressive. Queen Thecla brings in surprise. That was unexpected coming from you. Blessed Advisor Sam looks back and forth between you and the Queen to decide how scandalized he ought to be. He apparently decides it's all good and feigns disinterest in the rest of the conversation. I'm very interested in this line of thinking, Queen Thecla says, a slight smile playing at her lips. Perhaps over a private dinner you can continue to sing my praises. I would like that very much, you say. Are we gonna date the Queen? Hell yeah. Hey, relationship good, hell yeah. At any rate, back to the matter at hand. What should we do about my image? I don't really think you need to use glamour for this. I'm also not that good at glamour. Drawbacks of glamour aren't worth it. Well, unless you want your health to deteriorate, I suggest you stick to old-fashioned charisma, you advise the Queen. Everyone who uses glamour will eventually die from it. So then the saints are all dying as well, the Queen says. Just so, you say. The Queen purses her lips, seeming upset. I'm mining right now, hell yeah. What about you, the Queen asks. Have you used this magic too? I mostly avoid the stuff, you say. Very well then, no glamours for me, the Queen declares. Thank you for warning me. Of course, you say. Very wise, your majesty, Blessed Advisor Sam says, looking relieved. Where's it at now? Very good, hell yeah. I'm gonna date the Queen. That night, you have dinner with Queen Thecla in the same private chamber where you held the meeting earlier that day. The Queen still wears the elaborate sapphire blue dress she wore earlier, suggesting she has not really let her guard down around you. You begin a 7-course meal, which includes such culinary feats as a delicious consomme that has been filtered through dragon eggs, a turduck chimera, a turkey inside a duck inside a small chimera, all deboned and heavily spiced, and sourdough bread from a starter that is over 100 years old. The Queen asks you a little about your history so that you tell her about your beloved parents, your obsession with magic from a young age, and all that transpired in Accrington in the cathedral recently. She nods at all this. You suspect her spies have already told you as much. And she was just making polite conversation. What about you? You ask. What was it like growing up? You both know of Queen Thecla's parents are dead now, her father to an assassination and her mother to a plague that the Hierophant herself could not cure. I was protected but not sheltered, Queen Thecla says. Both my parents wanted me to see the pains of the people, and I would make tours of the countryside to see what their lives were like. I was under heavy guard, and I wonder in retrospect whether I gave the wrong impression. In parading opulence before more common folk, it's easy to accidentally provoke jealousy and hatred. My royal guard seemed only to frighten folk, even though they were meant to protect me, and I admit some of them got a little overprotective. You seem troubled by the memory, so you try to commiserate with her. Just because you tried to find out what their lives were like, you say. I suppose no good deed goes unpunished, even for princesses. Queen Thecla appears to think about what you just said. What do you think it's like being a ruler, she asks. Do you think you would enjoy being one? You don't get the impression she's offering. It just seems to be an idle question. I would enjoy the freedom to do as I please. Well, you can't. I think I'd be good at it and take pleasure in that skill. No, I think the responsibility would be a heavy burden. Something lights up in Queen Thecla's eyes, if what you just said awakened a spark that she thought dead. Exactly, she says softly. Queen Thecla discovers that you don't know many of the important noble families of the capital, and the conversation takes an educational tone until dessert, which is an impressive creme brulee with sherry-flavored sherbet in the center. You notice that the queen is actually quite a good storyteller, embellishing her anecdotes about the noble families with little details about their clothing and expressions, and pantomiming them in ways that makes you chuckle. You compliment the queen on her storytelling ability, and she smiles. I had a nanny who encouraged me when I was younger, she says. I would make up stories, and she would always tell me it was excellent. But she also asked questions that made me fill in the details. What was he wearing? Why did she do that? She looks wistful. I miss her. She was really, really smart, and nobody thought so because she was a nanny. What were your stories like when you were young? You ask. Queen Thecla regards you with curiosity, as if nobody ever asked her that before. A slight smile plays at the corner of her lips. Then she tells you a story. Once upon a time, there was a princess who was made of glass. She was beautiful and everybody thought so, but her parents would not touch her for fear that they would shatter her. They created a palace of iron for her to stay in, surrounded by guards who would keep out anyone who might shatter the princess. One day, the princess crept out of the iron palace and went exploring. She explored until she found an old witch's cave. The black-shrouded crone was in the middle of a dark rite, and the dark power coursed up and down her body. When the crone saw the glass girl, she cackled. Well, look who it is, she said. It's the girl I cursed. You must have followed the whiff of injustice back there. You do smell funny, the girl admitted. Why did you curse me? I hate pretty shiny things, such as those in your parents' hoard, she said. So wasteful and useless, I wanted to be their heir, to be the prettiest and most useless of all. Just then, one of my royal guards had entered the cave. They were strong and brave and had always tried to protect the princess. They had followed the princess all the way from the castle. Who are you? Asked this guard of the crone. I am your undoing, the crone said, and she began to cast a spell to turn the guard into glass as well. Queen Thecla pauses her story as the servants take away the plates. Then she says, Can you guess the ending? The guard turned to glass and the guard forced the witch to undo the curse, and the princess, no longer glass, fell in love with them. The girl slew the witch herself, took the books, and learned magic. The queen laughs in surprise. No, though I like the way you think. It was a good church-going girl. It would never have occurred to me that the prince would fall to practicing dark magic. She raised a placating hand. No offense. None taken, you say. No, I was not that way yet. The way I am now when I was young. Queen Thecla smiles. A little piece of the glass princess remains, hidden in an iron castle of my own creation. How does the story actually end, you ask? You'll figure it out in time. Queen Thecla smiles. You know, Ori, I don't have many friends. It's hard to find someone I could consider my equal. But I think you might be. You're quite special, I think. Thank you, you see. I'd like to get to know you too. I'd like to get to know you better too, Your Majesty. You half expect the Queen Thecla to tell you to call her Thecla, but she doesn't. Wash streak, another 3-day streak. This shit whack out. Well, guess you're stuck in 3-day hell. You suppose she might never do that. We are agreed then, Queen Thecla says. You're officially my new friend, Apothecary Ori, again, with a slight smile. Until next time, then. Over the next few months, as the days get colder and the first snow begins to fall, you work furiously in private on the new spells powerful enough to change the fate of the kingdom. With your newfound experience in magic, the advanced book you took from the sunken library, Magali Magea, or Great Magic, now seems at least somewhat intelligible to you, and you concentrate on the parts that deal with negation magic. In a laboratory beneath the palace supplied to you by the Queen, you conduct magical experiments designed to draw immense power from the dark sun. You use this power to make gears spin, axles turn, levers lift, and increasingly large models of factory machines. In these models, tiny wands of negation blast off pieces of raw material from iron bars, crafting even more cogs for larger machines. Something else you realize as you study Magali Magea more and more is that the ancients knew tricks to make the magic safer that are lost to you. The book makes passing references to the precautions every wizard takes. Apparently wizards are supposed to draw runes and magic circles before casting big spells that reduce the negative side effects of the magic. But you have no ideas what these runes and circles should look like or how they work. If you're not careful, you may prove as dangerous to the world as a whole civilization as mages. Meanwhile, the Queen continues her official business largely as before, as if denying that anything big is about to change in the kingdom. Determining who the factions are at the core is a fascinatingly logic puzzle. If noble X insults noble Y, then you carefully watch noble Z. Does the noble join in the criticism or come to Y's support? In this way, you build a mental map of the nobles at court and their alliances. Most importantly, you figure out which alliances you're implicitly in. It's perhaps no surprise that some of the oldest and most powerful guilds don't like you. You represent a threat to their monopolies and influence. Magic is an axis on which they can't fight. The oldest dames and dukes also lean conservative, and therefore your implicit heresy does not sit well with them either. On the other hand, many of the younger nobles and small guilds welcome your threat to the established order. They hope you'll use magic to upend monopolies, okay, Bulba, that's rude. Bust trust and essentially bring the destabilization that the old guard fears so that they can have a shot. You could play their games, it might bring you a bit more security at court to reduce the power of the old guard. Sow the seeds of discord among the old guards. With a clever word placed here and there, you turn the old guard against one another. Understanding the map of connections among the nobles makes it easy to shatter it. All you need to do is convince Z to turn on X is to trick X and Y into participating in the same conversation. With no need of magic, you ensure that all potential alliances against you are in tatters. Few notice your schemes, but Thekla does, and she approves. You see Blessed Advisor Sam around the palace occasionally, and he always seems to recall a reason to head in a different direction, and you never talk to him outside the Queen's secret meeting place. How's our relationship with the Queen? Great. We're gonna date the Queen. You soon receive letters from Mayor Kos detailing what has happened in Accrington since you left. Crime continues to be at an all-time low in Accrington. It's much nicer with the Silver Paladins and Twilight Band both broken up, but Kos can't help but feel that Accrington is a little more muted and subdued than it once was. Parties break up earlier, and people always seem a little nervous. Kos supposes it's the price one pays for security. One day, near the end of the winter, Tal bursts into the room where you secretly meet with the Queen. Guards try to restrain her, but Thekla waves them away. Tal is panting for breath, still dusty from the road. She didn't dress for an audience. In fact, she still has noodles tied around her waist. "A big airship," Tal says between breaths. "Of the neighbors, east of Accrington. I rode here as fast as I could." You're slightly embarrassed that you didn't think to establish some kind of divination link with Tal. Now that you two have nothing to hide from each other, you will do so in the future. "Did it attack?" the Queen says, rising from her seat. Tal shakes her head. "I think it was testing us, like a cat jumping on a table seeing whether you'll shoo it away." "What did it look like?" Queen Thekla asks, and Tal goes on to describe a sleek, rounded vessel with a flat bottom and 4 long, equally spaced black poles protruding from its sides and top. "Essentially giant wads of negation," you say. "The warships of the ancients were equipped with them." After Tal gives a detailed report, the Queen dictates some instructions to messengers bound for towns near the Negative Sea. Tal turns to leave, but Queen Thekla invites her and you to dinner instead. "You will risk your life for many over in the months ahead," the Queen says gravely. "The least I can do is feed you." Unsurprisingly, Tal did not pack any dresses fit for dinner with the Queen, but Queen Thekla arranges for one of the ladies in waiting with an appropriately slender build to lend Tal something suitably elaborate. Tal arrives at dinner in a cream-colored dress with a high collar, bell sleeves, and a crinolet stiffened skirt. On her head she wears a black feathered fascinator. She looks beautiful and miserable. The Queen wears a crinoline stiffened crimson dress with a black corset that looks even more uncomfortable, but she seems perfectly at home and takes her seat. The three of you dine in the same small dining room that has become so familiar through your meetings with the Queen. A couple of guards stand by, watch with the exits. You wonder whether the Queen would be so incautious if she knew Tal was a shapeshifter. You don't know the Queen's feelings about the matter, but some famous historical assassinations were carried out by those largely magical enhanced descendants of the Magisterians. Over the course of the long meal, Tal picks at one strange offering after another, but dutifully eats the souve eggs, the mushroom sorbet, and even the head cheese and mole sauce. Well, that's also meanity. How could you do this to me? How could you do... After all the entertainment I provided you through this whole stream, this is how you treat me? Somehow the cooks must have heard Tal was adventurous and thought the term applied to her eating habits. Afraid to try the offerings yourself, you mutter vibromancy spells to change the food into more palatable offerings. Queen Thekla and Tal exchange pleasantries and they talk a little about their families, but they aren't really connecting. The Queen relates an anecdote from her childhood and ends with, "Of course, I didn't really have any friends then, besides my nanny and stuffed bear." I'm only treating you the way you feel you deserve to be treated. Oh, so the way I do deserve to be treated. I see. I understand now. Tal perks up. "What was the bear's name?" "Bear Bearson. The queen shrugs and smiles. I still have him in my bedroom closet. Couldn't bear to part with him, I guess. You exchange a surprised look with Tal. Did that just happen? The queen laughs, not at her own terrible pun, you gather, but at the look on your faces. Tal chuckles and shakes her head, wondering why she was so nervous before. Slowly the room begins to thaw. Not my words. Oh, no. Too late, it's your words. Too late, your words. I have a stuffed animal myself, Tal says. Noodles the monkey. I saw. But you'll only believe you, sir. No. They're your words. I believe your words. Queen says, you're wearing him around your waist when you deliver the report. Tal blushes at this. I wear him for good luck, she mutters, now awkward again. This seems like your chance to intervene. Animate the 2 stuffed animals. I could animate both of them for you, you offer. Noodle and Bearson both. Maybe they'd hit it off. Tal gives you a slightly horrified look. What? Well then, you're clearly more illiterate than me. I mean, I guess that's fair. I can't read. I can't really read too well. Animate them, the queen asks intrigued as you explain. Queen is fascinated by the idea that she fails to identify Tal's look of fear as impending mortification. Relax, Tal. Everybody likes noodles, you assure her. You don't have to fetch noodles if you don't want to, the queen says, although her enthusiasm makes it hard to believe her. I'll be right back, Tal says, shooting you a look that says she'll get you for this later. A servant goes to fetch the queen's stuffed bear and returns before Tal. The brown bear wears a bowler hat and vest, and his fur has been worn away from too many loving hugs. Said the book boy who is streaming a virtual book. I can stop if you want. I mean, I'm only going to the end of this chapter, but like, I can stop right now if you want. Tal returns with noodles as well, and both women propping up their stuffed animals, and the guards exchanging looks that say, what in the name of Abraxas? You raise a hand and remember the words of animation. Lightning flashes to your raised hand, arcs to you to Noodles, and jumps to Bearson. Noodles is the first to move, peering this way, then at Bearson. The bear, on the other hand, remains motionless and stares straight ahead at Noodles. The only ones I have are to not vomit before tomorrow. Yeah, don't vomit. Is it working? The queen says. I'm not sure, you answer. Noodles reaches with tentative fingerless hand to poke at Bearson. Suddenly, Bearson whips out a paw, grabs Noodles by the hand, and throws him over his shoulder to the ground. I'm invested out of spite. Noodles, Tal cries. The sprawled monkey looks over at Bearson as if to say, what just happened? Sorry, the queen says. Now it's her turn to blush. Bearson was a sort of bodyguard bear in my fantasies, going on secret top missions protecting me from assassins, but there's a loving interior underneath the gruff exterior. Noodles starts to get up, and Bearson roundhouse kicks the monkey's legs out from under him. Bearson, you apologize to that monkey, the queen demands. He is my honored guest. Bearson swivels, considers the monkey for a moment, then helps Noodles to his feet. The bears offers an apologetic handshake. Noodles takes the opportunity to flip the bear over his shoulder, announce the bear's turn to be sprawled on the ground. The queen blinks in surprise while Tal suppresses a grin. You apologize to both Tal and the queen. Both of you assure you that's no problem, but only the queen seems sincere. Gross, I don't want to know about your bear's tenderness underneath. He's just a silly little sweet guy. Also, how's our progress on dating the queen? Still great, hell yeah. As dessert is served, some kind of pudding that arrives to fire. To the queen's delight and Tal's dismay, the queen says, Tal, I'm so intrigued by you, and yet you've seemed tense all dinner. Relax, I'm just a person too. Just talk to me as you would anyone else. Tal's grinnish, sour. Easier said than done. You're the queen. Tekla looks slightly sad at this reminder. A liveried servant blows out the flame of the dessert. The queen waves him away. I suppose you wouldn't believe that it's sometimes not excellent to be the queen, Queen Tekla says. Oh, boo-hoo. Noodles covers his eyes. Tal claps her hands to her mouth. Excuse me, your highness, I'm very sorry. Queen Tekla shakes her head. It's so hard to elicit honesty. You have no idea. Please, just say whatever's on your mind. Really? Tal says. Neither she nor the queen has touched the pudding, so you follow suit. Oi, bitch, bring me a sandwich. Bring me sandwich. Ham and cheese. Really, Queen Tekla says. I'm not going to clap you in the irons just being controversial. Tal takes a deep breath. I think you should get rid of the shapeshifter laws. The queen gives Tal a level look. My parents would say you're being foolish, the queen says, now staring in on the pudding. They were engineered to be assassins, they said. You can't assume they're like humans. That's so incorrect, Tal says, still not touching her pudding. People think shapeshifters are more merciless than regular humans, but we're... Tal freezes. Oh, come on. Queen Thecla says. She points her spoon at Tal. I knew you were a shapeshifter from the moment you asked about it. Just say what you're going to say. We're often part human, Tal says. Mother's human, and I don't really think the old lore about us being more cruel is even true. Maybe it's just who we have to be sometimes, like anybody. Queen Thecla seems struck by Tal's remark. She looks downcast. Well, I'm sorry, but I don't know what would happen if we struck the shapeshifter laws. A lot of people would be pretty happy about it, Tal says forcefully. Think about it. We can look like anything, and our babies with humans are always shapeshifters. Just how many of us do you think there are? The Queen's eyes widen as she contemplates the indications. I suppose they are my subjects. You guys can meet to talk about this. Your Highness, I really think you ought to consider repealing these laws, you say. I'm sure you'd think so too if only you knew Tal better. I can assure you that you can trust Tal absolutely. Perhaps you should spend some time with her and learn more about shapeshifters. They're your subjects too. Well, perhaps I should at that, Thecla says. What do you say, Tal? I've got to get back on the road, Tal says, shaking her head, but I won't refuse a royal command. Can we do tomorrow? Tomorrow, then. The next day, you see the Queen and Tal walking together in the palace gardens, smiling and seeming to enjoy each other's company. Later that night, you see them chatting in the small dining room you used the previous night, and they're still chatting when you're ready for bed. Next day, Tal is gone by the time you get up, but you're somewhat unsurprised when Thecla announces in the throne room that the old anti-shapeshifter laws have been repealed. Based on Tal's warnings, the Queen tells you that it's time to start deploying the magic you've developed for the kingdom. And then Tal murdered the Queen. Yup. But no, she can't murder the Queen. We're going to date the Queen. That's the mission. Over the course of the month, you supervise construction of the first factory since the time of the ancients to be powered by the dark sun. Giant pipes leading below the surface of the earth funnel negative energy directly from the dark sun to the cogs and gears above. These turning gears will move the assembly lines, which will guide weapons such as crossbows, swords, and even wands of negation from raw parts of finished product. If these should prove successful, you plan to scale up the whole negation-powered airships to the kind the Magisterians have. The Queen is there with you for the initial activation, along with a few skeptical guild masters who will take control of the production in these factories. The windows of these large warehouse-like buildings are currently papered over so the public doesn't find out about the project prematurely, even though you built the factory in the countryside instead of the capital, in case anything should go wrong. Should have kept her safe from that dastardly Tal. Tal's like my best friend. I only got her dad killed, but it wasn't my fault. Everyone is bundled up, but it's still rather cold. The Queen wears a hooded white fur cloak that fairly obscures her face. Is there some kind of switch to throw? The Queen asks. Kill switch is over there, you say, pointing to a wooden lever on the wall. But the factory needs a spell to start everything. May I? The Queen hesitates, clenching and unclenching her hands. Yes, make it so. You point a hand towards the ceiling and spread your fingers of your other hand. Nihila energeria, metakinste set ergastio. Dark energy swirls around your body and forms a conduit to the pipes leading beneath the earth, priming the pumps of the energy to be leached from the dark sun. The conveyor belt lurches to life and the gear and cogs begin to spin. Tiny crossbows are assembled by delicate golem hands, one piece at a time down the pipeline. Elsewhere, large hammering begins as another golem begins to fashion a blade from iron. It's working, you tell the Queen, who smiles with relief. Then we have begun to save the kingdom, she says. Hell yeah. What's my relationship? 82, hell yeah. You finally decide it's time to take a break from your magical research and treat yourself to spending some of your stipend. Some of the shops are no longer relevant to your new life in the capital, but some of the new shops are quite interesting. Where would you like to spend your money? This is my last chance to spend money before the climax chapter. We're almost done with this, it seems. So we'll be finishing this up next stream. I'd like to go to the bookstore. Okay, when you enter the bookstore, you find there's a large change in their stock. The books from the lay people on magic, the neighbors, and related subjects are sold out as people try to understand the new world you're creating. However, advanced books of magic are no longer banned, and as a result, they've come across a few technical books that are indecipherable to the general public, but possibly perfect for you. Hell yeah, Bulba. I think it's worthwhile learning about the negation books because of the active negation that we're doing in town. Astonishingly, the officer suggested the one at the counter for the other, and the two health risks cancel each other out. The particles and negative energy clouds serve as a kind of reality check on a body rebelling under the effects of rot, killing the most adherent tissue first while leaving the healthy tissue intact. The opposite is true as well. A body exposed to too much negative energy can be tricked into living by glamours that convince the tissue that it can fight on. Both only work to a certain extent, however. Enough glamour or enough negative energy will always kill. Your understanding of glamour and magic negation increases a great deal as a result of this revelation. Would you like to try to inhale negative energy particles to bring your body into the balance? Sure. Well. My glamour is not great, so I'll do a little. You cautiously adopt your new treatment, sniffing some negative energy particles because you get your rock under control. Cool. Can I get a pet? Okay. Can. Magical jewelry store. You get to the new jewelry store for opening a nice selection of magical curiosities. Unfortunately, the demand for magical items appears to have exceeded the supply here in the capital, and the store is full of only one kind of item, silver pendants in various shapes. There must be nearly 100 of them in display cases, and not a trace of any other kind of magical items. Do you have something that is not these? You ask the shopkeeper. Sometimes, he says. Not often, not now. You suppose this is how the stores selling used goods usually work. If the goods were great, people wouldn't be selling them to begin with. You're going to buy one? The shopkeeper says. They're supposed to be good of good luck in various kinds, unless you have more than one. Then they just make you feel sick, so don't do that. Running your hand over the different pendants in the display cases, you get a sense for what kind of luck they might have. A fox head with a citrine eye is attuned to vibromancy, an 8-pointed star with sapphire is attuned to divination. The Dove Island with alabaster is attuned to glamour magic. The other schools of magic are not represented. Perhaps uses of negation and automation meant more unfortunate ends over the years. Get the glamour pendant to get my glamour up. Okay, I can't buy that. So I can go to the pet store and buy a pet. There's really an astonishing variety of strange creatures in the shop. What section do you head to? Flyers, serpents, traditional. Flyers. The flyer section contains a variety of winged creatures, from tiny bluebirds to odd birds with lion heads. Something that looks like a bird. You accidentally want something that looks basically like a bird, but a bit more impressive. You find a section devoted to birds with striking colorations. What color scheme do you like for this pet? Blue feathers with silver accents. You single out a cage containing the color combination you're looking for. The bird inside looks at you expectantly. Buy it. What do you name your new pet? Here you go, Conway. As the first airships begin to roll off the assembly lines, one of the first pilots is Mayor Koss. Koss comes in for a landing on the grassy Edra Common on one of the new single-rider skiffs, a thin vehicle that the rider hunches over while holding the handlebars. The landing skids tear 2 long ruts towards the grass, and when the brakes hit a bit too hard, the skiff begins to spin out. He leaps from the vehicle as he uses it as momentum, chewing a spiral through the grass. Koss looks dismayed for a moment at the destroyed lawn, but then regains his ebullient manner. He lifts flight goggles and unwinds a scarf. Ori, these airships are amazing. Such a rush to ride, and so quick. I can get from the capital to Aquatin in half a day. Do you want to ride? See the sights of the kingdom? I suppose it would be good to conduct more first-hand tests. I suppose I haven't conducted enough in-person tests yet. Let's go. Koss looks at you crestfallen at your attitude. He suggests going to some faraway sightseeing locations, but you don't want to waste time on long flights headed in one direction when you could be testing out the airship's capabilities through more extreme maneuvers. Well, that perked Koss up again. You spend the afternoon performing sharp turns, steep dives, and barrel rolls above the capital, with Koss laughing and whooping all the way. Meanwhile, you make careful mental notes about where to improve the airship's design. By the end of the day, Koss's enthusiasm has finally returned, and you enjoy discussing the technical aspects of airship design with him. He promises to return for more tests soon. You muse that Koss is actually a lot like you, analytical, open-minded, enjoying the spirit of invention? I'm analytical enough to know that relationship would never work. You dismiss the thought. Koss, that would never work. Your negation-powered factories begin operating around the kingdom, automatically creating weapons, armor, and tools that have been created by hand. Though most produce goods directly from the crown, the Queen grants permission to the factory bosses to sell some goods directly to the public as well, passing on the commission to the crown and royalty to you. These manufactured goods are much cheaper than the handcrafted tools, but you still turn a tidy profit from the royalties. Though the quality of the goods produced is not as good as what human artisans would create, the human creators can't compete with the low prices of these manufactured goods. As a result, many laborers around the kingdom find themselves out of work. The kingdom has never had a formal education system in place, so these men and women have difficulty finding new jobs. Your factory only need one kind of supervision, namely, getting in contact with you if anything goes wrong. And so, jobs at these factories are not as well paid as the skilled labor these smiths and coppers and cobblers had been doing before. There are riots in the food markets, and your factories are often vandalized. Some are outright destroyed. Ostensibly, the name of the church, but more likely because you're disrupting many livelihoods. Meanwhile, Magisterian airships have now been spotted by the general public. The smooth-hulled ships cruise by towns near the negative sea without making contact or even revealing any Magisterian crew. The aerodynamic metal ships equipped with huge wands of negation are enigmatic, but certainly do not seem friendly. Were it not for this imminent threat, the people would no doubt still be unhappy about the changes. As it is, many accept them as a necessary evil. We need to consider how to keep the people happy during this time of uncertainty, Queen Thecla says. You're once again meeting with the Queen about your usual private dining room. Things aren't as bad as they think. They're just panicking if we can get them to focus on something besides their troubles. This is not a problem that demands magical solution, Blessed Advisor Sam objects before you can give an opinion. People simply need to have faith in us and in Abraxas. When we are called on to change, we must do so with a glad heart and not cling to what was. Queen Thecla casts a spectacled look upon Blessed Advisor Sam, as if she's a little tired of being in the room. Any ideas? The Queen asks you. Broadcast the culture of the capital, but without glamours. Your Majesty, we have a wealth of entertainments here at the capital that could help lift the spirits of the border towns, you say. Even if they don't hear your voice directly, they will feel your love through these gifts. But once, Blessed Advisor Sam just shrugs. That's reasonable, I suppose. Queen Thecla nods. Let it be so. You go from musician to musician, from one acting troupe to another, offering to broadcast their works to distant towns that they themselves have never visited. You often ask whether they will be able to hear their listeners' applause, and you assure them this is so. Couriers carry large enchanted mirrors to distant towns, and the performers themselves use a giant mirror in the palace garden to broadcast their music and plays to those distant artifacts. The constant performances in the garden creates a pleasant atmosphere in the palace, and Queen Thecla approves. Meanwhile, you understand that the performances are a great hit in the border towns, which have also stopped their worried murmuring about your magical technology. You receive a letter from your mother asking you to return to Aquitaine to sort through some of your things she found in your attic. She threatens to throw them away if you don't come soon. Since you might be better able to understand some of these old artifacts you scavenged now that you know more magic, and since you were looking for an excuse to visit Mayor Kaz anyway, you agree to come with all haste. Tal, who had been visiting the capital to report to the Queen, happens to be headed back to Aquitaine as well, and you decide to share an airship. In an airship, you manage to clear most of the distance to Aquitaine in a single day. Tal's marveling at the view through the shipboard magic mirrors reminds you of the wonders of your magical creation. You had already begun to take it for granted, you realize. When the time comes to land for the night, you find yourself over an unfamiliar stretch of the Crown Mountains. Since you're headed for Aquitaine in a straight line instead of following the roads below, a metal dome topped by a large copper trees offers an interesting chance for exploration. It stands in the caldera of a snow-topped mountain, any trail to it having been long ago obliterated. A colony of giant penguins lives around the ancient buildings, mostly standing around in pairs. Occasionally, one belches fire up in the air. The ancients almost certainly liked fire-breathing creatures. As you watch, two unpaired penguins get into a fight and breathe fire on one another, then roll around in the snow to put it out. Looking in one of the magic mirrors, Tal sees it too and points. Want to explore it? For old time's sake? You consider how to get rid of those fire-breathing penguins. Negation is out of sight, since you wouldn't want to contaminate the site with a cloud. Besides, Tal doesn't like it when you do that. Land the airship and use glamour to get the penguins to leave. I've got this, you tell Tal. You will the ship to land just on the edge of the penguin colony, exit the cavern, and the penguins waddle up to you. You chant the familiar words. Velocia omnes cleos venenum. The penguins slow their approach. Some duck their head with deference. Go over there and be good penguins, you say, pointing across the caldera. The penguins do as you ask, lining up single file to trek to the other side of the caldera. Aww, Tal says behind you. Okay, that's kind of adorable. Magical blue lights light your way as you walk down the main hallway of the ancient building. Empty metal frames hang on the walls. Whatever posters of art they might have contained long since rotted away. Small offices to either side of the main hall have been picked clean by earlier looters, so only the desks remain in buried rooms. "Aw, man," Tal says as she looks in one such room. Then she looks in another. "Aw, man." Your glamour goes down, and with that sinking feeling comes to worry that you risk your health for nothing. But at the end of the main hallway is a locked door that gives you hope. You murmur an automation spell. Lightning arcs through the ceiling to you, and you lock into the lock on the door. You turn the knob and enter. The locked door opens up to a small theater, with a stage curtain rotted almost beyond recognition. A single line of folding metal chairs face the stage, which is wooden and falling apart. Tossed aside, props lie in their wings, a very old shield, an old sword, a wand. You dash for the wand, but when you pick it up, you realize it's simply a piece of metal bent in a way to look menacingly. "Oi, look!" Tal has found a drawer built into the back wall that contains an assortment of spiky blue crystals, each labeled with a metal plate engraved with a 3-digit number. Above the drawer is a depression in the wall where one of the crystals could fit. You look around the stage and see a crystal ball hanging upside down from the ceiling. "I know what this is," you say. "It's an ancient broadcasting studio. These crystals must be recordings." Tal looks down at the crystals. "Not to be crass, but are they worth?" "It depends what's on them," you say. "If they contain lost magical knowledge, they're invaluable, but a lot of ancients' old entertainments weren't meant for the mages, and they were just kept to keep everyone else happy." "That sounds more likely," Tal says ruefully. "Oh well, I like being happy, I guess. Let's watch this crap." You and Tal bring in your equipment from the airship and make camp in the small theater. You take out the first crystal from the drawer and place it in the depression in the back of the room. The stage is illuminated with the illusion of 3 plain-looking peasants standing behind 3 podiums. 2 are men with simple brown tunics and bowl haircuts, while the third, a woman, is wearing an undyed white woolen dress and 2 long blonde braids. Their expressions suggest they are nervous and feeling overmatched. "Welcome to another episode of The Chosen One," a voice booms. "One of our players will win a full scholarship to Aquitaine Academy. Each of them is the smartest in their village, but do they have what it takes to be wizards? Ziv, the first question is for you. You can play this one either for money, and remember who has the most money in the end wins, or for a magical item that will help you win later. What'll it be?" I'll take a magical item," says Peasant Ziv. "Okay, this one's definitely in the entertainment for the masses category," Tal says. "And I'm not really liking the part where it's taking advantage of poor people. Should we move on?" You experimentally place a few different crystals into the same socket. The most promising broadcast for learning something seem to be an investigative show, a medical drama, or a game show. You don't find any of the shows that are explicitly educational. Let's switch to the investigative show. You replace the crystals with another that hooks into some kind of investigative drama. A blonde woman with a bowl haircut wearing a high-collared wizard's robe is bending over the corpse of a man in academic robe sprawled in a pool of blood on the floor. The illustrations are all tinged with blue, and perhaps because the crystal is slowly deteriorating. The blows are all to the head, near the temple," the woman says. "Mace, I think?" Almost as if someone was trying to literally knock some sense into the man. From the dent in the floor nearby, it seems that the blows continued even as the man was on the ground. Blows get furious, but the man's jaw is undamaged. The man was beaten until he said something the assailant wanted to hear. And that can only mean one thing. The woman turns to the audience. Abraxas cultists. You settle in with Tal as the illusory investigator follows up with some divination magic. You're glad you picked this show. You're not sure you believe its stereotypes about followers of Abraxas who are portrayed as crazy cultists, but it may help you understand the stereotypes your other histories are implicitly addressing. You watch as the Ancient's old program with Tal, and you begin to tell she has something on her mind. Finally, she speaks. "So, this negation magic, I know that neighbors are scary, but isn't this magic scarier? Didn't the Ancients nearly get wiped off the map because of this magic?" "What do you propose we do instead?" you ask. "Basically anything else. Most magic is slightly terrifying, but that magic is really terrifying." Relax. My negation's really good. Negation magic is very controllable if you understand it. "I don't think you need to be so nervous about the Dark Sun," you say. "It's just a source of power. Very controllable if you understand it." Tal looks skeptical. "You said it yourself. A source of power. You know what makes people real stupid real fast? Power. I'm not worried about the Dark Sun per se," Tal says, "although I hope I never tell my mother you're besties with it. I'm worried about people like you getting overconfident. Then oops, no more Aquitaine. Sorry we blew up your town. We forgot to flibber to gibbet the thingamajob. We won't happen again." Be as careful as I can, you say. Or, let's make a secret super weapon against the neighbors, which is mega destructive, but we only use it in emergency. Oh dang, they stole it. Oh well, goodbye, Irina. You feel yourself flushing, not sure what to say. You suppose Tal has a point. I'll be careful, you say. I promise. You'd better, Tal says. The illusory crime drama, the diviner tracks down the Abraxas cultist to a dark lair with a blood-splattered altar. The Abraxas cultist is a bald man wearing a black cowl with the eye of Abraxas tattooed on his forehead. He's brandishing a dagger at the diviner. Stay back. This is a holy place. Yes. Just tell me one thing that my spells could not reveal, the illusory diviner says. Why did you do it? Abraxas told me to, the cultist says. He speaks in my head. Then, as now, he says, kill. The cultist lunges at the diviner, who quickly puts up a shield of negative energy. Antitha. The illusions then go dark and the cultist screams. The diviner's voiceover says in a hard-boiled voice. Another Abraxas cultist, dead before I could bring him in. Did he really hear the dark ghost of Abraxas? Or was he just another nutjob looking to explain the voices in his head? Sometimes, you just gotta let questions go unanswered. Boo, Tal says to the disembodied diviner. You had one job. But the illusion shows nothing further. It's over, apparently. As you remove the crystal from the depression of black wall, you notice a concealed panel that you overlooked before. You swing it open to reveal a crystal hemisphere, like half a crystal ball. Experimentally touch it and it glows red. No crystals inserted, a disembodied voice warns. Please insert crystal to record. Huh? Tal says, so we can record our own illusory program for posterity? Kinda neat. He smiles. Do you want to? Yes, I do, you say. Let's tell the future that even though our work was bleak, we were happy. Here, I think I know what I want this to go. You put the crystal you'd been watching in the depression in the back of the room and touch the crystal ball. Disembodied voice says, recording in 3, 2. You return to Tal and put your arm around her. She gives you a squeeze. 1. Hello, future, you say. I'm Apothecary Ori, and this is my good friend Outrider Tal. We lived in a time where monsters roamed the countryside. We hardly ever saw the sun because of the eternal storm, and we thought the neighbors were going to invade any minute. But we wanted to tell you that we're happy anyway. Isn't that right, Tal? Oh yeah, Tal says. I mean, sometimes things can be rough, but my mom is great, and I love her very much. And Ori here is fun to be around, if a little scary sometimes. I love my stuffed monkey noodles, and fighting monsters is pretty exciting. I guess I love the outdoors too. Okay, now I'm rambling. Noodles waves the crystal ball. Hopefully things will be different soon, as magic helps bring our society back to the way it was. But even if that doesn't happen, I just want to say even in dark times, we all sang song. Who's got a lot of luck? We do, Tal sings, and sometimes just goofed around. Tal unties her stuffed Poco monkey from around her waist. Hello, my name is Noodles, and I'm the best monkey that ever was, she ventriloquizes. So good luck to your future. I hope you still sing, and I hope you still goof around sometimes. I hope there are bandanas, Tal ventriloquizes Noodles, raising his arm. We wish you the best from the past. We're rooting for you. You turn to Tal. Seem good? Tal wipes a tear from her eye. Kinda sentimental, but whatever. As you're setting up camp in the recording room, Tal says, do you think Queen Thekla likes me? I hadn't really noticed. You say honestly, you mean Tal blesses likes? Yeah. She fluffs the pillow more than is strictly necessary. What makes you think she does, you ask? She asked me if I'd like to hold her hand, Tal says, as we were walking around the palace gardens. Did you? You ask. I did, and Tal gets a faraway look. It was nice, she shakes her head. Is this crazy? Should I not get involved with the queen? Maybe she secretly does this with every woman who comes through the palace. You seem to like her, just see where it goes. She can't be serious. She wants an heir. I doubt she wants to adopt. Wow, I know, right? They're stealing the queen from me. How could they do this to me? My best friend in the whole world is stealing the queen from me. Well, can't say I didn't expect this. I guess. Go ahead. Are you male or female? Male presenting non-binary. So, in the game, yes, in the game. In the game. A bookish, spectacled person. They stole my queen, and I'm sad now. Did Tal just say that the queen likes women? Queen do like woman. But I don't know if the queen goes both ways. Will she like you? I mean, so far, my relationship is an 84. That seems pretty high. I mean, regardless, I'm gonna have her. I'm gonna support them. So, like, if they, I guess I will support in this endeavor. But I could dream. Let me dream, Unity. Let me dream. All brightens. Yeah, you're right. One step at a time. Thanks, Ori. Anytime. As you settle down for bed, you think about the match more, Tal and Thekla. A brave knight and her queen, a friend unafraid to speak her mind, and a queen who found such a rarity. And Tal's mother, who would either be set for life or find a way to make the queen herself poor. It makes sense, you think, if they're willing to look past all their differences. Yeah, you could be at 84% and still not be romantically interested in someone. Let me dream, okay? Let me have my dream. We didn't know. We don't know. Which means there may be a chance. Guess your friend has to die. I guess so. You arrive in Accrington and you and Tal part ways to visit your mothers. Tell me all about life at court, your mother is saying as she pours you some tea. The smell of the peppermint pervades her living room, which is full of quilts and lacy pillows she made herself. Did you meet any of the noble families? Did you meet Queen Thekla herself? I did, you say. The queen is a fascinating woman, strong. I think you would like her. I think. You proceed to relate some stories about life at court. Your father taps out and leaves the house after about 2 hours of such questioning, claiming that there is some pressing business at his construction site. As you relate these stories, you're vaguely aware of a kitchen drawer opening and closing behind you, but you think little of it until you turn to see that your mother is holding a large butcher knife. What's this for, you ask, imagining the answer is something like cake? Your mother lunges at you with the butcher's knife. You quickly stand. Though she aimed for your neck, she stabs you in the chest instead. The pain is excruciating. She lunges at you again, and you raise your other arm to block it, only to have that arm sliced open. Quickly losing blood, you feel as though you might pass out. You splash your steaming tea in the attacker's face. She shrieks and uses your distraction to topple the tea table, sending the tea set crashing to the ground. You hide behind the wooden surface. That's not my mother. You have the presence of mind to think. You have moments to decide which spell to cast. Heal myself. You keep your hand pressed to your chest and will the dormant life energy into your mother's wooden house to flow into the wound. Motes of light stream from all directions. Medical, therapevo, you murmur. The wound seals. You feel queasy, however. Your mother impersonator kicks the table away just as you draw your Lux Gladius. The blade of light springs to life and emits a steady hum. Tell me who sent you, you say, clambering to your feet. Sounds like my mother. I'll find out one way or another. Seeing that you've healed yourself and you're holding a more intimidating blade, your assailant apparently thinks better of attacking you. She runs for the door. I am aborting the mission, she cries to nobody in particular. It's time for the backup plan. Someone is listening with divination, but who? You can't afford to give chase. You're too worried about your real mother. You cast a divination spell to find out where she is. Mysterian Gnomai Reperio Matamea. Your divination reveals your mother tied up in her own cellar. The storeroom is mostly empty, save for the kegs that stand as a monument to your father's long-abandoned attempt to brew beer. Your mother is lightly dozing as you cut her bonds and gently wake her up. Where am I, your mother asked. What happened? You're in your cellar, you say. As for what happened, maybe you could tell me. Who'd tell her Fran? She came to borrow some sugar, I think it was, your mother recalls. When I let her in, I had hardly shut the door and she had knocked my feet off. She started to tie me up straight away, and that was all about I knew. Just then, the ground shakes and you hear a crash from above. Something tells me we need to get out of here, you say. Lead the way, my dear heart. You run up the stairs, pause to note that there's now a ragged skylight filled with negative energy residue in the living room, and continue at the front door. I thought the chapter would have been over by now. Look at this. Oh well. You leave your mother's house just in time. Another negative energy explosion levels the house, leaving only a black cloud where it once was. My home, your mother cries. Shrieks of fleeing Equitonians seem distant as you contemplate the loss of the home you grew up in. Looking up, you see a Magisterian airship, its sleek metal hull looking entirely alien above your normally quiet hometown. The vessel is smooth, half-sphere, flanked by large black cannons. A white shaft on a swiveling mount stands at the bow of the strange ship. Its barrel is as wide and tall as a person, making it unlike any cannon you've ever seen. These weapons are manned by figures wearing bowl-shaped helmets, gray cloaks, and black enameled chainmail. The powerful automation magic keeping the airship aloft makes all of the hair stand up on your body. What in the name of Abraxas is that? Your mother says. Oh, please let this be a dream. It's a Magisterian scout ship, Tal calls from down the street. She unslings a longbow from behind her back. Ori, just get your mom to safety. She takes aim at one of the Magisterian crew. Tal, are you crazy? You're the one who needs to get inside. Magisterian, she means the neighbors, your mother asks you. Sorry, mother, you say. I think they've come for me. Your collateral damage? You can't think of a polite way to put it, so you trail off. The black cannons on the side of the airship swivel and fire to your left and right, leaving craters and clouds of negative energy in the street. As soon as you turn to look behind you, they cut off that means of escape as well, and another blast of negative energy. The blaster interrupted when the Magisterian gunner gets one of Tal's arrows in the face. Thanks, Tal, you call out. What would you ever do without me? She replies. Oh, crap. She leaps back in time to avoid a negation blast at her own feet, lobbed by another wand-wielding Magisterian on the airship. I'm okay, Tal says, although it's unclear who she's reassuring. Your mother grips your arm in fear. Another one is stepping up at the cannon. Do something. Take control of the vessel. It would be a monumental feat to take control of the giant vessel, but you've got to try. You raise one hand to the sky and point the other at the great airship. Erovanes spiritum mea legare excepte. Lightning strikes your raised hand and arcs up at the airship. A black whirling shield of negative energy appears in front of the airship just before the lightning strikes, but your crackling magic penetrates the shield and envelops the whole ship, which lights up gloriously. You see the crew gyrate wildly and fall. Apparently your spell has also electrocuted the whole ship briefly. You spread your consciousness through the whole ship, feeling every little system come alive as your spirit touches it. The sense of power and control is exhilarating. You will make the ship make a gentle landing in the middle of the road, where it wobbles slightly at the absence of a real air dock. Nobody emerges from the vessel, presumably all dead by electrocution. You now have an airship, it seems. That's my Ori, your mother says proudly. I'm glad that you could do something to that thing, Tal says to you, her gratitude mingling with wild annoyance. Having taken care of the airship, you realize you need to contact the Queen immediately. You head to the mirror to the center of town that is used for broadcasting concerts to the capital. You cast a divination to reverse the flow of communication. You establish communication with the palace garden, and after some negotiation and sharp words for a random gardener who happened to be near the giant mirror there, you get the Queen. You try to rotate the mirror to minimize the glare from the sun overhead. Yes, Apothecator Ori? Is that the Queen? Your mother says in awe, having followed you. Similar murmurs float throughout the crowd that is gathered behind you, but you pay them little heed. Ackerton has been attacked, you tell the Queen. I think they came for me. You relate the story of how a letter from your mother was actually a trap set by fruit seller Fan, a spy working for the Magisterians. Beginning of a war, then, if they get their way, the Queen says. But they may be willing to parley. Tell me, would you be willing to act as an emissary to the Magisterians? I wonder if we'd avoid a war if you could convince them that we are as advanced as they are. If I send an ordinary diplomat, they'll be unimpressed. But if I send you, then maybe there's a chance. What do you think? Could you convince them that we're equals and not to be trifled with? I'll do my best. There we go. Queen looks relieved. So, you think you can succeed? Have faith, my queen. Alright. On that note, I'm going to call it there, because we're way over time, actually. Let's see if we have a raid target. Does anyone have a raid target for us? Let's see what we got. Raid target. We do have plate. But we can raid out to plate if you all want. But if anyone does have another raid target, I would be open to raiding them as well. Because, you know, spread the love around if I can. But regardless, I do appreciate everybody for stopping by, as always. It means the absolute world to me for anyone to stop by here. So I appreciate it. Isa is good people. I think I follow them. Yeah, I do. Alright. 44 viewers. Holy shit. Alright, but yeah. This really cool guy named Stingles is streaming. Oof. You know, I don't like his voice. I don't like his face. He's just an overall, just kind of like, he's just a grating individual. Alright. But, yeah. Why are you bashing my Oshi? You have a really crappy Oshi if that's the case. Alright, I'll send you over to Isa. But I do appreciate everybody stopping by. Please show them how good of a community you are for me, for them as well. I'll be hopping around as well. I'll be working on some stuff tonight if people are around, but no obligations. Again, appreciate everybody stopping by. I'll probably be around in like an hour. Have fun, everybody.